Here and hand you over to Greg Hughes. Good morning, Greg.
Less the back of the head moustache, you'll be glad to hear.
Yeah,
Just
I didn't look at it. No, I know it's a day not to be any tomfoolery with you. Do you know?
No,
I'm on my guard today with you. Who did it?
I did
See, it must
myself.
be. Did you?
Yeah.
And it must be tricky doing all that shaving at the back of the head. Do you look in the mirror, or is it just technique? Is it?
I have to hide and do it now because Hudson doesn't like to see me doing it.
Does he
so
not?
No.
He'll do it for you.
That's pretty,
If he gets to that beard of yours,
he
there'll be nothing left.
he might have done a better job.
I know.
Anyway, that's the latest and final updates on the back of my head moustache. You'll be glad to hear. All right, Lee, have a good one.
Thanks, Greg.
Bye. It's 9 o'clock. It's just turning a minute past 9, in fact. Let's get a news update and say good morning now to Emma Ryan.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A Donegal deputy believes the budget has failed to help middle-income families who are facing into a difficult winter. Deputy Thomas Pringle believes the government missed the chance to provide targeted measures to assist those who really need it by instead using a blanket approach. He says the budget provided middle-income households with little support.
So a multimillionaire who owns 10 houses will get 10 times the electricity review, and people struggling, the middle income people who are struggling all the time and their house will get one amount of that. We need a budget that should have been targeted at the people on the low incomes, the people who are working and constantly have no other option but to keep going and try and survive. That's the people that should have been assisted, and I think the government missed an opportunity in relation to it.
Over 35,000 people waited over 24 hours in emergency departments in the first 7 months of this year. The number of patients on trolleys in Letterkenny University Hospital's emergency department also increased by almost 45% last month. Figures show there were 136 people without a bed at the hospital during August. During the same period last year, 61 patients were on a trolley. The average waiting times in an ED before admission or discharge was over 7 hours for all age groups. Donegal GP Kieran O'Farry says it's a long-standing problem.
Anybody working in hospitals or in healthcare will know that there are long waiting times in emergency departments. As GPs, we hear this from patients all the time, and a reluctance on patients to attend.
The prosecution of a British soldier in connection with the events of Bloody Sunday will resume today in Belfast. Soldier F is facing charges of murder and attempted murder in relation to one of the worst attacks during the Troubles. Chloe St John reports.
Legal proceedings had been due to pick up again yesterday, but a mix-up at the courts has meant it's been pushed back until today. The case had to be adjourned after lawyers were sent to Laganside in Belfast, while the judge had travelled to Derry magistrates. Soldier F is facing 2 counts of murder and 5 of attempted murder in connection with the events of Bloody Sunday in 1972, when 13 people were killed when British paratroopers opened fire on civil rights demonstrators in the city.
To weather now, today will be a cool but brighter day with sunny spells and scattered showers. Highest temperatures of just 11 to 14 degrees. That's all for now. We'll be back with a news update again at 10 o'clock. But until then, good morning.
The cost of living crisis has us living in uncertain times. As prices constantly rise, it leaves us wondering, will everything that goes up always come down? With the budget speech comes more uncertainty. What impact will it have, and what will it mean for you? The Irish Independent look to answer the important questions in their budget supplement, an essential guide that explains how Budget 2023 impacts you and your finances. You'll find it in Wednesday's Irish Independent, up close and independent.
The 9 till noon show with St Eunan's GA Club Development Draw. €40,000 in prizes. First prize, a Hyundai Kona car, plus 9 other great prizes. Tickets now available online at stunansgadraw.com or any club member.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. The 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes, Monday to Friday, with all that matters across the Northwest. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
All right, I think I accidentally played every jingle at my disposal there. Anyway, you're welcome along to the programme. It's just turned 5 minutes past 9 on this Wednesday. It is the 28th of September 2022. How are you keeping? It was a funny old morning this morning driving into work. Sunshine, showers, funny looking skies, rainbows, everything. Anyway, how is your morning so far? Let us know, and let us know what you want to talk about too. WhatsApps and texts 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. If you happen to listen to us on your smart speaker or online or whatever, if you're outside the Republic of Ireland, the prefix is 00353 86 60 25,000. And if you want to give us a call, 07491 25,000. You can also watch this programme, as you may well be aware. If you want to do that, and hundreds of you did yesterday, you can hop on to the website and watch live. There's a tab there for you. Or you can go to our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland, or on our Facebook pages as well. Good morning to Paul, the first to say hello, watching us this morning. Let's look at the newspapers this morning then. And no caps, but many comforters in budget. That's the front of the Finn Valley Voice. This week's budget is an energy budget, regardless of whether it comes to supporting those on low incomes, those with those struggling to stay in business, those trying to educate themselves, or simply those filling their shopping baskets. It all comes back to energy. For Pierce Doherty and Sinn Féin, the solution was to cap the price of electricity. The present government does not favour the cap approach. Instead, they've opted for a series of comfort measures ranging from one-off electricity charge handouts to a widening of the current tax bans. And a little later on in the programme this morning, we'll be joined by Damien English, representing the government, and Fine Gael, Sinn Féin's finance spokesperson Pierce Doherty. They'll be talking about the budget. We'll also have a financial expert on as well to sort of try and drill down as to what this might mean to you, dependent on your situation. We're also unique, in terms of, maybe people are single parents or single living on their own, with a family, without a family, carers, couples, all that type of stuff. We'll try and get as many sort of typical examples as what this might mean to people out there as possible, just to get a sense of what might be in your pocket. As I say, we want to stay positive, but with prices going up as they are, you just feel that, and any increases are going to be very quickly gobbled up. But then you could say, I suppose, that half a loaf is better than no bread at all. The Donegal Post this morning: long, hard-fought campaign for vital respite finally bears fruit. There's been a cautious welcome to the long-awaited announcement that Seaview House in Mount Charles is to extend its respite service to 7 days. This follows a long campaign over many years fought by the affected families and by parents and friends of people with intellectual disabilities in South Donegal. Mary Gorman, chair of the Parents and Friends of People with Intellectual Disabilities Committee, said it's great news and hopefully it continues. Hopefully it will be a permanent thing. The Inish Times this morning, their front page: startling low level of builds contributing to Bunkrano housing crises. The startling low level of housing construction in Bunkrano over the last 10 years has contributed to the town's accommodation crisis, a public meeting has heard. The meeting, aimed at finding possible solutions to the housing situation, was told that there have been just 58 registered completions of housing units in the last decade. That's just 5.8 a year. The meeting was called by Donegal County Council as part of the process of identifying lands that could be developed for housing as part of the preparation of the town's local area plan. The draw of rural living in one-off houses has contributed to the low level of housing development in the town, but the lack of housing development in the county's second largest town is having a detrimental impact on its development, planners say. And it's the county's biggest coastal town, isn't it? Let's have a look at the Irish Times now, and it's a big, bold headline, isn't it? 11 billion, it's in purple. That's how much was allocated in the budget yesterday. 6.9 billion annual budget packet measures, 4.1 billion one-off cost of living measures. What do you think of the budget out there yourselves? You're very astute. You know the story. You know your personal situations. I think we know, with everything that's going on, with the way costs and prices are going, I don't think we can be fully insulated from what's going on. But are you happy enough? Particularly maybe if you're that person that texted us with, €14 left after you paid your big bill one particular week, you had 14 left out of your pension. Are you breathing a little easier today? I don't want this to be a default position whereby, anything the government do is bad. Did they do well, do you think? I think there was some shrewd spending in this. I think, I personally, if I was a decision maker, and we'll hear from Pierce Doherty the reason as to why they back a cap, I don't think a cap was the way to go personally, because, whilst it might bring some temporary certainty, who's to say, what we could end up paying? And it's like writing a check for the electricity companies as well, the gas companies. Do you trust them not to go, oh, okay, well, the government's guaranteeing is guaranteeing us a certain, is guaranteeing the consumer a certain rate, and it's going to pay the difference to us. Let's milk that for all it's worth. I mean, do we trust that the energy companies wouldn't have done that? Or maybe that was the way. As I say, people who know much more about this stuff will be on a little later talking about it, but that would have been my concern. Big giveaways, coalition braces for difficult winter. That's the sub-headline here in the Irish Times. The government unveiled an unprecedented 11 billion giveaway budget yesterday amid growing concerns about deteriorating economic conditions. The Department of Finance said growth would be significantly lower and inflation higher next year than previously expected. And officials acknowledged that Ireland was in danger of slipping into a technical recession, defined as 2 successive quarters of negative growth. Speaking at his post-budget press conference last night, Minister for Finance Paschal Donohoe, well, he said that the most likely scenario is still one of growth for next year, but acknowledged that Ireland now faced an incredibly uncertain environment. Budget documents published by the Department of Finance suggested that the severity of the winter in Europe would have an important bearing on Ireland's economic prospects. Let's go to the Irish Independent now. The government is banking that a record 11 billion budget package will ensure households can pay their bills, with the cost of living crisis set to rapidly escalate this winter. After weeks of tense negotiations, Finance Minister Paschal Donohoe and Public Expenditure Minister Michael McGrath outlined an unprecedented series of welfare increases, tax cuts, business grants and reductions in government fees. In their speeches, the two ministers said the significant level of spending was aimed at helping people struggling to heat their homes and businesses finding it difficult to pay energy bills. There'll be 3 €200 electricity credits taken off bills in November, January and March. A major business support will see the government give grants of up to €10,000 a month on increases in energy bills. And again, that is great, helping businesses with these type of initiatives, but they really need customers through the door. And the way you get customers through the door is that you give people some income that they feel is discretionary, that they can spend. I don't know. I mean, if businesses are open and empty and you're helping with their electricity bills, that's grand. And maybe I'm wide of the mark again. Any businesses out there, correct me if I'm wrong, but you really need bums in seats in your cafes and bums on stools in your bars, don't you? That's how you keep a vibrant, or at least a ticking over business. 086 60 25,000. Of course, I'm sure any assistance for electricity bills will be welcomed. But as I say, will people be coming through the doors like perhaps they did last year or pre-COVID? Well, anyway, tax cuts will see a couple with 2 children earning a combined €85,000, gaining an extra 1,660 next year when all budget measures are taken into account. Is a combined wage of 85,000 typical in Donegal, I wonder? Well, anyway, if you are that couple, €1,660 you will see in your back pocket compared to in the government's coffers. The income tax rate was increased by 3,200, meaning taxpayers will not have to pay the top rate of tax of 40% on earnings over 40,000. And Leo Varadkar, and he's been clear on it, he wanted that pushed out to 50,000, but it's been bumped up to 40. So not insignificant, but maybe for some, maybe even for Mr. Varadkar, not far enough. Any questions, by the way? I get confused with numbers. I think a lot of people do. I think reports, say, for instance, on the radio where there's lots of numbers, you get lost in it very quickly. So if you have any sort of specific queries that we can try and get answers to for you, please get in touch and we will try. So if you were listening to this show in June, so that's June, July, August, September, we flagged in June, or it was flagged on the show in June, that a levy would be applied on the building industry to help pay for the defective concrete blocks situation. And I've questioned, and Sinn Féin weren't opposed to a levy, however that might have been applied. They might have gone with what the government did or not. but the government have applied a 10% levy on concrete blocks and ready-mix concrete to be introduced to help fund the cost of the mica redress scheme, is revealed in the budget. Now, the problem with this is that the irony of it is you have people with mica-affected homes, and if they are lucky enough to get on the scheme, when we find out how that scheme might work, it's pretty much stalled at the moment, they themselves, I mean, I think maybe the rebuilding of defective concrete blocks homes, if that had been, if they had been exempt from this 10% levy on these products, maybe it would not seem so insulting or adding insult to injury. But if you're lucky enough to get some money together to be able to get onto the scheme and to be able to start getting your house repaired, you are going to have to pay a 10% levy on concrete blocks and ready-mix concrete. Now, that's not just those repairing defective concrete blocks homes, that's everybody. So everybody is going to have to pay through this, through direct taxation, of course, as well, but also through this levy. And it's going to put around about somewhere between €1,000 and €3,000 on the price of building a house. So it's another levy then on first-time buyers. It seems just a remarkable thing to do in the midst of a housing crisis to me. Now, as I say, I'm not an expert in any of this, but to introduce a levy of 10% on concrete blocks and ready-mix concrete on an industry during a housing crisis, it just, to me, doesn't make a great deal of sense. The government, or whatever government is in power, is going to have to claw back some of this money. But again, you know, there are those who are, some would feel, directly responsible for this, you know, not facing any sanctions really as such. And, you know, even quarries around the country that may have sold defective concrete blocks in the past, this levy's not on them. They're not going to pay it, are they? They're going to pass it straight on to the consumer. So, I mean, they must be going lol, really. But anyway, if you have an insight into that or you want to comment on that, get in touch on that as well. The levy aims to raise $80 million a year, but it will add significantly to builders and developers' costs, which could put the profitability of many housing schemes in doubt. So any schemes that maybe even have been priced on narrow margins, that extra charge could tip them over the edge. It just seems a strange move right now. You know, when you're throwing 11 billion at a problem, why throw in that 80 million as well when you could probably defer it, or even, you know what, let Sinn Féin or whoever's in government afterward worry about it. Right, okay. Whatever about our budget, at least it's costed. At least we know where the money's coming from. That's not what they've done in Britain. They've announced a budget, a big tax cuts budget, and they don't really know where they're going to get the money from. They're going to borrow, but they don't really know how much they're going to borrow, at what rate, and how much of it might be paid for an increase in tax being paid. Crazy stuff. But anyway, fiscal measures adopted by Britain will likely increase in inequality, a spokesperson for the International Monetary Fund said yesterday. This is in the Irish Daily Star. Urging authorities to consider providing more targeted support to affected families and businesses. We are closely monitoring recent economic developments in the UK and are engaged with the authorities, the spokesperson said, after the British pound hit an all-time low amid spiking market concerns. Given elevated inflation pressures in many countries, including the UK, we do not recommend large and untargeted fiscal packages at this juncture. Now, people in Britain and Northern Ireland could be facing mortgage interest rates of 6% as a result of this government intervention. So the rich get richer, and those who may be struggling are going to be facing massive potential costs increases. Even if it's just in the mortgage, it's thousands per year. And the mortgages are going up because of the budget that Liz Truss announced through her departments. It's crazy stuff. In the Irish Mirror today, JD Sports, Elite Sports and Rangers have been fined more than $2 million by Britain's competition watchdog after it found they fixed the price of replica kits. The Competition and Markets Authority said Elite Sports and JD Sports broke the law by fixing retail prices of the Rangers branded jersey and other clothing items from September 2018 to July 2019. It added the Glasgow club also took part in the collusion, but only in fixing the price of specific adult home short-sleeved shirts from September to mid-November in 2018. A nice way to treat your fans, that is it. And last but not least, if you have a smart speaker in your house, listen to us as well, by the way. Give it your command and say, play Highland Radio. But voice assistant Siri and Alexa are making children rude and antisocial, scientists fear. So it's the speaker's faults. Youngsters are now being taught to say please and thank you. Know how to read body language. Cambridge University Dr. Amnol Arora warned. Interacting with the devices at a crucial stage in social and emotional development might have long-term consequences on empathy, compassion and critical thinking. All right, we'll be joined by our first guests on the show, but we do have to take this very quick first break.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show with St Eunan's GA Club Development Draw. €40,000 in prizes. First prize, a Hyundai Kona car, plus 9 other great prizes. Tickets now available online at stunansgadraw.com or any club member.
Tune in this Thursday for all the latest farming news and views straight after the 5 p.m. news. Brought to you in association with Lifford Credit Union, who have recently launched Cultivate, an agricultural loan at only 6.55%, APR 6.75%. Call into any of their 3 offices for more information or to make an appointment. Lifford Credit Union, Rafo Newton Lifford, supporting local farmers.
The new TFI Young Adult Leap Card is for 19 to 23-year-olds. Offering a 50% discount on Transport for Ireland fares. And now also includes many commercial bus operators too. Students who are in full-time education and are over 23 can also avail of these savings with a TFI Student Leap Card. So save 50% on fares with a young adult or student leap card across the Transport for Ireland network and participating commercial bus operators. See leapcard.ie for details and to order yours today.
We know every business is different, from coffee stalls to car dealerships and footwear. But behind every door, hatch and counter, they all have one thing in common: payments. At AIB Merchant Services, we provide payment solutions that work as hard as you do, building systems to fit your business needs, whether that's in-store, online or on the go. Search AIBMS.com for more. AIB Merchant Services, your partner in payments. First Merchant Processing Ireland DAC Trading as AIB Merchant Services is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with the manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
Hello everybody, it's me, Tommy Tiernan. I'm playing the Mount Errigal Hotel on Saturday, the 1st of October, with my brand new stand-up comedy show, Tom Foolery. Tickets are 35 quid from ticketmaster.ie. Don't you dare miss it.
We'll see you down the road. Good luck.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme, and I'm pleased to welcome onto it right now Minister Damien English of Fine Gael. Good morning, Damien. How are you keeping?
I'm very good, Greg, and I hope your listeners are keeping well too.
Yeah, we're doing all right. We'd be doing a little better, maybe. Your assessment of this budget the government negotiated and produced?
Look, I think the budget is really what it's about, as a cost of living package. And I think Budget 23 will do that. We know the majority of people are facing into difficult months ahead, you know, with rising costs, pressure on the family budget, trying to make ends meet, mainly because of energy. And I think the effort here was, and the design of this budget is to help out families, those people who are at work, those who are on fixed incomes at home, and to try to target those most vulnerable and the squeezed middle who miss out on a lot of the assistance from government with the payments because of their tax bracket. So I think we're achieving that. It is about putting money back in your pocket by cutting income tax, increasing pension payments, welfare payments for families with disabilities and carers. And I think the big win here is around childcare as well as public transport, cutting the cost of school and college. So that's what it's about. It's a lot of money, but it's just to help people through the next 5 or 6 months. You'd love if you're spending 11 billion to be making permanent, long-term changes that will transform the country. But the choice ahead of us now is to help people survive a difficult time, keep businesses open. There's a lot of support there for businesses. There's massive cost of energy that's at them, And when we're supporting business, we are supporting jobs.
Mm.
And thankfully, we have 2.5 million people at work. We want to keep them at work, but we also want to encourage more and more. And throughout this budget, there is efforts there to make more work pay more and to make sure it's always worth your while to go to work. So I think it's a really good effort to try and help people, but no one's going to claim that this is a magic wand will make life, will solve all the problems. But I think it's a good.
Your party would have favoured the higher tax bracket before you have to start paying the higher rates of tax. You'd have preferred that pushed out to 50, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. Over time, we did say in the last election that we would like to, over a time of government, which is over 5 years, that you'd push that towards 50,000. There's been two big jumps the last budget, and this is a very significant one now again. So now it's at 40,000. So the reason we're doing that is for two reasons. One, work has to pay. That's exactly those people who are in the squeeze middle who are paying high taxes. We want to encourage people, to do the extra shifts, do the work on a Saturday if need be, because companies are telling me they can't get staff. So why would you go and work a few extra hours or work on a Saturday if you're going to pay over 50% of that into tax as well? So it has to be justifiable, worth your while going to work. But number two, we're competing for talent next door, all over the UK, but all over Europe as well, trying to keep people who want to invest here, who want to work here, who want to stay here. The higher rate of tax doesn't kick in the UK till well over 50,000 or 50,000 sterling, if I'm correct. So there's a big difference there, and that's been well flagged to us for a long number of years now with IDA, Enterprise Ireland, all our business and job agencies. So I think it's appropriate, and it was a time to do it for two reasons: cost of living, to help the squeeze middle and those who are at work, but also to protect and create more jobs.
In terms of social welfare payments increases, a 15-year-old figure was being touted, some calling for 20, settled at 12. That's not going to make enough of a difference, is it really, to those who need money the most?
I think it's important to look at what's the package. So those who need it most, and you're identifying pensioners there as a category, the majority of pensioners will be over €2,000 better off over the next 12 months, probably 2,300 for some, because there's different interventions here. There is the change to the pension and the permanent change. But then there's extra cost of living payments. There's an extra lump sum for the living alone allowance. There's the fuel allowance, and there's a double payment in November and again at Christmas. So when you put all the package together, it's more than what people would have expected, to be honest with you. And I think it will assist pensioners who are living at home, either together or on their own, to get through difficult times ahead. Pensioners have been very anxious and have been very worried.
So are you saying, what you're effectively saying there, is it, in terms of setting it at 12 and then with additional payments, you're giving people money when they need it now rather than it being spread over the course of a year at a higher weekly rate?
Absolutely. And if you talk to a pensioner, that's what they tell you they need now. They wanted clarification and assistance now, because they're very worried going into the winter. And I think this gives them the extra money they will need to be able to heat their home and deal with the inflationary costs caused by energy in the months ahead. It's important we do that, but also to show that we do want to keep the pension on the trajectory going up. We did commit to increase it every year if we could in the programme for government. So we're doing that, as well as bringing forward some very decent but needed payments before Christmas as well. But also, it's also a budgetary matter. We know this year there's a good boost in the taxes, thankfully, because of the high number of people who are at work, high corporation tax. They're not there forever, so we can use those taxes for once-off balloon payments, which we're doing here to support many sectors. And I think that's a good way to use that money, not to tie it up long-term when you're not guaranteed it. Those mistakes were made in the past. We can't do that again. But based on sound public finances, we know we can justify increase the pension and other social welfare payments by €12 next year. And that's important we do that. But I think the other big window, I think, is the fuel allowance. And there's major changes in that, and a lot more people will be brought into the brackets to be able to benefit from the fuel allowance, which is probably worth the guts of 1,500 or 1,600 a year to most people.
You mentioned energy, of course, because it's forefront in most of our minds. We're going to hear from Sinn Féin's Pierce Doherty shortly, but you decided against a cap. We see a cap introduced in Britain and elsewhere now, and other caps around Europe are slightly different. They're not, they're not absolute caps in certain other countries. But why go for these payments as opposed to a cap, where a cap would actually give people a little bit of certainty? It might just be one less thing for them to worry about.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, it's because the country couldn't afford it. And Peter Doherty will try and tell you it's only 1.5 billion. Everybody knows that assesses this properly. It's potentially 8 billion and might not stop at that if you go the blank cheque route that Sinn Féin want to do. That's easy for them to say in opposition because they haven't to make it actually happen. We have to deliver a budget that adds up and that is sustainable and that keeps this country on a firm footing for next year and the many years after as well. So you can't make the record.
But we don't know. We can't afford it because we don't know how much it might be, though, Minister.
So, well, I'm sorry. Our idea of when you do a budget, you have to be able to make sure that it adds up and can pay for itself. And most times when you try to look at Sinn Féin budget, it doesn't add up. But just to be clear, we've seen what's happening next door in the UK when they made that announcement. Anybody can see that now, and the impact it's having in that country, and it's put the UK on a very dodgy footing going forward, in my view. Other countries around Europe are not doing what Sinn Féin are doing. It's not true to say that. But just to be clear, what we are doing here, we are saying to businesses, we've set aside roughly about $1.5 billion for the next couple of months to assist business with their energy bills. The scheme is designed that it'll reach everybody that's in business, that is able to show that they've been hit with increased unit costs of over 50%. The state will step in to cover 40% of those costs. And we'll build on these schemes if we can work with the EU framework into the new year. There is money set aside. Right. If we have to intervene,
now you had
a greater way, we can do that.
You brought Deputy Doherty into the conversation.
Yeah,
there,
you
mate.
did. Yeah,
I know I did, but I mean, you said what he might say. So whilst he's on the line, we might actually hear what he is saying. Deputy Doherty, your reaction to Minister English's assessment of your cap suggestions? No, actually, I beg your pardon. We'll have to come back to that in a moment.
No, that's fine. And look, just to be clear, I think people need to analyse these budgets. I've watched these budgets over the years, and it's easy for opposition parties to throw random figures out there because they don't have to deliver it. We have to deliver it, and we have to make sure that this country can continue to function and run and win investment and secure borrowings and secure business and jobs. And that's why we have to balance the budget. And look, I'd love to be able to say to you, we can write a blank cheque and there's no risk to the country. Because I know businesses need great assistance. The majority of businesses, though, they understand how to try to run a budget. They're trying to run a tight budget in their support. So they recognise this is an intervention that doesn't deal with all their increased costs but is of great assistance. But there's other schemes there and other supports that we will support businesses through new grants through our local enterprise offices and Enterprise Ireland to invest in infrastructure to reduce their energy bills, to reduce their reliance on it, but also to future-proof their business. The other big issue for businesses is labour costs and a shortage of talent. They actually can't find staff in most cases. So a lot of the effort in this budget is to encourage people through the tax system to go back into work, to make it more viable, to reduce the cost of childcare, to make it an option to go back to work for some cases, to support businesses then with subsidies if they take on staff from the live register. So there are other ways to assist business here by reducing other costs. But the two big issues for business would be around energy and labour. Following that then is the digital journey and the green journey. And again, there's money secured from my department here to work with businesses on that, to digitalise their business, to bring their business online, to reduce their costs, to drive innovation, and to upskill their teams as well. All right. They're all important too.
Okay, let's say good morning to Deputy Pearse Doherty. Just your assessment of this budget. I mean, it's 11 billion. There's a lot of assistance in there. It does put a lot of money in certain people's pockets. You know, it does help. It's not like a budget we saw in Britain, for example, where the rich get richer and the poor get the pennies. I mean, there's a lot of good in this budget, Deputy Doherty, isn't there?
Well, first of all, I didn't hear a lot what Damien English said. But
he said the government did really well, I think was the assessment.
I've heard a bit of it, so I might get a chance just to give my view in relation to the budget. Greg, thanks. First of all, you know, there's a lot of money splashed around here. There's no doubt about that. There's stuff that we welcome in this budget. There's stuff that we pushed the government on that wasn't on the government's radar a couple of years ago. Childcare wasn't an issue that any of these parties were talking about. Renters credit, which I can talk about how they've made a balls of that. But anyway, at least it's now on the radar. But I did hear him talk about energy. And this is, I think, where the government actually have failed in terms of this budget, because people needed certainty. People needed certainty that the rents weren't going to go up over the next year. People needed certainty that the electricity prices wouldn't skyrocket. And I heard, and it's just baffling here that Damien English is going on saying that price certainty on electricity prices over the winter months up until the end of February would cost €8 billion. Is the minister really suggesting that electricity prices are going to go up over 600% over the Christmas. And by God, if they are, then we're in serious trouble.
How much would it have cost, though, Piers? Because, you can give us short-term certainty, okay? But you can't. We don't know how much that would cost, and we will end up paying for it in any case. All right. So
there's two things, Greg. First of all, we know what it would cost on the basis of today's rates and the increases that have flagged, which are kicking in. Some of them are kicking in on Friday, actually, the likes of Electric Ireland. Others are kicking in later on. So these companies actually flag increases a while in advance. So we know how much it would cost based on that. That would be just under 1.4 billion euro. But we reckon that coming to the end of the year, the start of the year, there may be further increases. And that would be over, because this only lasts till the end of February. So that's why we've put a €250 million extra to provide for further increases, to give people that certainty. Now, Damien English says, it would cost 8 billion. That's just scaremongering stuff. That's just trying to find an excuse to say why we didn't do this. Now, let me say this, Greg. Since March of this year, the European Commission said price certainty by placing a cap is something that that countries could be doing. Actually, since October last year, the European Commission said that that countries across Europe could be looking at windfall taxes in energy companies. We've argued for windfall taxes in energy companies because some of them are making massive profits, pushing up prices. What did Damien English and his government do? What did Pascal Donoghue do? As late as August, a couple of weeks ago, he was arguing against a windfall tax in these companies that are making record profits during this period.
Come in there, Greg.
Yes, of course. Yes, Damien, come in. Yep.
He's now in 3 months. At no stage.
Just one second. Damien, just let Piers finish this point, and then I'll let you back in, and you can take as much time as you wish. Go ahead.
Second thing then is in relation to price certainty. So what has Europe done after the Commission has decided to do that? Yes, they've done it in different ways, but they've still done it. They're providing price caps from France to Austria to Netherlands to Czechia to Poland to Romania to Slovakia. The Wall Street Journal were reporting just 2 days ago that Germany is preparing legislation to introduce a price cap as well. So if all of these countries, so Damien's kind of soundbite that the government have is, we can't cost this and all the rest. Well, his colleagues in Europe are introducing this measure.
Yeah, but it's but from country to country, dependent on the type of energy that's produced, what kind of controls there are on that, and then there's a certain amount of units that are capped, not your entire bill. There's anyway.
All of them are bringing in price certainty in terms of electricity. Some of them are actually going further and bringing it in terms of gas, and other countries have done gas on its own. But the issue here is there is price certainty.
Okay, let me bring Minister English back in again, if that's okay, Piers.
Just to come in there, Greg, a couple 2 points. It's not true to say that the government are against windfall taxes. We're involved with our European colleagues, and the decision on this will end this week around the different mechanisms to deal with this. And we're very clear. If the EU solutions don't work for Ireland, we bring in our own windfall taxes. So that's straight up. That was in yesterday's budget, Piers. You were sitting there when you heard that as well. Just in relation to the price cap, there's no other country that I know of around in Europe that's writing a blank cheque at Sinn Féin. Piers talks about $1.25 billion and allowing $1.5 billion. Compare that to what everyone knows is the estimated price for the UK, which is $100 billion. Now, there's a big difference in Pierce's $1 billion to $100 billion next door. And so it's not credible that it's only going to cost $1.5 billion. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, Pierce, that you're potentially writing a cheque that you don't know, and I don't know, is it 7, 8, 9 billion? Maybe it's only 6 billion. We hope it's less, but you don't know that.
Yeah, but I think we'll agree, Damien. We'll agree, Damien. It's not going to be 8 billion between now and the end of February.
No, you can't agree that. No, but hold on a minute. This is not a budget for till February. This is a budget for all of 2023. And Pierce knows that. He's able to add generally most dates.
Okay.
And we're doing a budget for all of next year.
Right, we'll let just Pierce come back on that, and we'll move on to other stuff too, because I think you're not going to agree on the energy policy. Okay. Go ahead.
Let me make this point, just so all your listeners have the facts, right? So Damien knows that what we've argued for is until the end of the winter, which is the end of February. So it's not a full year.
What you're setting aside your money for is $1 billion.
Please do not interrupt, Damien, with respect to the listeners. I give you your chance. Let me just say this, and you mightn't want to hear the truth. The second thing is, he came on this radio station when I wasn't on, saying it's 8 million. Now he says it might be 6 million. Look, he's plucking figures out of the air, trying to find a way to give an excuse why they won't give price certainty, which 12 countries across Europe have done. The second thing is he is blatantly wrong here and misleading the people of Donegal when he says that his government weren't against windfall taxes in energy producers. I would ask anybody, look at the Dáil record, the Budgetary Oversight Committee, where Pascal Donoghue argued against a windfall tax.
Well, listen, I don't need to look at that because we had Leo Varadkar in studio here, and I put that question to him, and he wasn't in favour of it at that time either. So
They have been forced to do a U-turn now because these companies are making massive profits, and it's not about the companies' profits. It's us. It's the people of Donegal, the people of Ireland, who are paying extortionate prices as a result of those profits. This government sat on their hands when other countries brought in windfall taxes to reduce the cost of electricity. You actually allow these companies to profit.
This is this government's approach, and perhaps deciding to go a different route to everyone else. We'll see how that plays out. Last one on this one, Damien, if you don't mind.
Yeah, just to make the point, again, yes, there was an 11 billion intervention. There's parts of that Pierce and I will agree on. There's no doubt about that. And I understand you missed it at the program. The point I was making, Pierce, I didn't say it's exactly 8 billion, because like you, I can't predict it. What I said was...
Well, you said it could be 1, it could be 8.
Yes, I said as a government, we have to bring in a budget that balances and pays for the whole year. Not just
I know, but in the context, if you take that clip out of it, you did effectively say that Sinn Féin's proposals could cost up to 8 billion. I would be happy to write a script up stating that. I understand. Could be
I'm
more
not denying that. But what I'm saying is, you can't write a budget not knowing if it's 8 billion, 6 billion, 10 billion. You can't do that. That's not what you can do when you're trying to run a government. It's easy to do that when you're in opposition. We have to set aside a budget here that we know will get people through the difficult time, but also deal with all of next year's expenditure. And that's why we've set aside a budget package here, which I believe achieves that. Naturally, all of us have to work together to make sure we can support jobs, support people who are at home on fixed income to get through a difficult time. The extra support for childcare, for the family working payments, they'll all be of great assistance as well. I think that's important. But also, we'll hear today of the support around education to reduce the cost of schools, to bring down class sizes.
Okay, Damien, you went through an awful lot of that already, and I won't keep you very much longer. But Deputy Doherty, and we heard from Leo Varadkar, and he wanted to help the squeezed middle. And perhaps maybe he didn't get everything that he wanted through these negotiations. Your party, Pearson, you individually, you believe that this budget, fails the squeezed middle and those less well off?
I think the facts speak for themselves, Greg, and then probably in our own county of Donegal, where we have some of the lower wages, I think a lot of people will be disappointed in that. I'm talking about people who are in the squeezed middle. I'm talking about people who will not get the social welfare benefit, despite the fact that the €12 increase doesn't even protect them from the level of inflation. We wanted to see $17.50. But those people I'm talking about who are working today, whether they're in retail, whether they're on the factory floor, they're earning 30,000, 35,000 maybe. They're getting a tax break of €190, when somebody earning 100,000 more than them is getting a tax break of €830. Now, the government announced this kind of big tax measure, but what they don't tell you is only 30% of workers actually avail of this. This cost them €750 million. Now, it costs them, it's actually us that it costs €750 million. 70% of workers are locked out of it because they don't pay tax at that level. And I think that's deeply unfair at a time of crisis, that you have people on 35 and they're getting a quarter of what somebody on a salary, as I said, of over 140,000. I think that's unfair. There was a better way of doing that. And the way you could have done that was actually dealing with the USC, getting rid of the lowest rate of USC, slashing the second rate, and moving the band on the third rate of USC, so that the benefit would be felt by middle and low income workers right across the board, and then cost of living cash payments. So just to finish, Greg, so that person on 35,000 euro, our proposal in our alternative budget would be that they would benefit by €700, as opposed to what the government have done in terms of 119. I think they have really been left behind in this budget.
It would be nice to be speaking to you, Minister English, this morning, sort of breaking from what seems to be the case no matter where you are, not just this country, elsewhere, where we were talking about a budget that genuinely focused on, if the rich are sitting where they're at, they'll be okay, but really focusing on making the lives of the squeezed middle, as they're called, and lower incomes and those on welfare genuinely much better.
I think, Greg, if you fully analyse the budget, it does do that. I'll give an example of someone on around €20,000. They're over there because of this budget and the change that's been brought forward here. They'll take home an extra €2,200 and a little bit more on that this year. So the package is there. If you look at all the package and the changes around childcare, around student fees in college, around the tax brackets, yes, but also the energy credits, and there is a package there for the majority of people. But I've also said the change with the higher rate of tax is two-pronged. It's to recognise that the middle income people on those tax brackets who are paying higher rate of tax, some days they go to work and they're handing over.
It's about 800, 900, about €800 to €900 extra a year, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about €800. But again,
but what's that going to do for most people, though? I mean, the weekly shop's going to eat that up.
Well, so to be clear, if you add in the package there with the energy credit, with the extra €800, most of those people are in around €2,000 more extra money that they wouldn't have had. That will help them deal with the increased energy
Doherty,
costs.
I mean, could you have put more money in people's pockets? $2,000 a year.
I don't
the
believe you
minister's
could
claiming. Could you have, no matter how you do it, could the total figure? Could you have put more than $2,000 in these people's pockets, as the minister's claiming they have?
Numerous issues, Greg. We had gone way further than the government. As I said, on childcare, we were arguing for years that childcare costs be reduced by 2/3. We were told it couldn't be done. Now the penny's starting to drop in government buildings. And look, let's call a spade a spade. This government has a very firm eye on Sinn Féin and what we're doing. So they told us it couldn't be done. They argued against it. They argued against windfall tax and energy companies. They argued against a renter's tax credit. Indeed, Pascal Donoghue said it will end up in the pockets of landlords. The Taoiseach said the same. But actually, it probably is, because they're refusing to bring in a cap on rent. So when rents went up for new rents in Donegal last year by €140, then that's going to be gobbled up. That renter's credit will be gobbled up. So look, on numerous things, we've gone way further. The social welfare increases should have been €17.50, not the €12 that doesn't protect people.
Could you have done the €17.50 per week and still the bonuses as the government is scheduling?
What we argued for this year in terms of the one-off packages is that we would have a one-off package of €4.1 billion this year, and we would have had the double Christmas bonus, but also all social welfare recipients would have received €500 as part of our cost of living cash payments. But crucially, in terms of low-income workers, 80 cent doesn't keep them in line with inflation. They needed over €1 to actually keep them in line with inflation. So we argued for 140. So Damien, like when I talk about the squeezed middle, I'm not talking about those on lower ends. I recognise that the government went up 80 cent on the minimum wage, so therefore people will benefit. It doesn't keep their spending power, so they'll be poorer next year than the world this year. But I'm talking about people in the middle. I'm talking about those on 30 and 35,000 euro. That's the real middle. And the issue that Damien's scared over is that those individuals don't get social welfare increases. They don't get the tax package, the €830 that they announced, that Damien will get, that I will get, that really we don't need. It is actually those people on those.
Just to come in, Greg,
come back, yeah.
Again, two things, Greg. Yeah, two things, Greg, right? We can all argue of the different supports that are needed, and I think the different combination of packages, both of us are trying to reach the same people, because there's other ways, if you're on minimum wage, to qualify for other payments that you would 40,000. So when you go through all the different supports, the family income supplement, the working wage payment and things like that, there's a lot there that adds up to that as well. But I want to be very clear on this, because Peter says what his budget could have done. What I said at the start of the programme is his budget doesn't add up, and that's the difficulty. Opposition parties can promise things; they don't have to deliver them. We have to actually deliver it. Because again, your energy support.
What doesn't add up? Is it the energy cap element, from your perspective, is that the only element of this that doesn't add up?
It's a with respect, it's a massive element, because if Pierce is right and it's $1.5 billion, that's brilliant. But by all accounts and any independent assessment, it's potentially.
How would you have stopped the energy companies from not going, right, we're guaranteed some money here, Pierce, we're going to absolutely screw the taxpayer?
Can I make this point? Because let's reverse this discussion. The minister is trying to say that energy prices, so we factored in a 25% energy increase over the winter, right? And this is only going to last till February. So the minister is saying it's going to be multiples of that. So is the minister genuinely saying to the people of Donegal that he expects energy prices to double, to triple, to quadruple over the next period? And if they do, it's a case of paddle your own canoe, because you're going to have to stump up yourself. That is the core.
Well, there is also a contingency. There's also a contingency if extra money is needed to be spent in January by the government, though.
The reality is, and that's it. We know what the prices are. We know what the prices are now. We know what the prices are going to be next month or in October, because they've already we know what that is going to cost, and we have factored in a 25% increase in those bills come December. It may happen, maybe the price will go up, but actually with our policies in terms of windfall tax, which their government opposed, what we're likely to see is some downward pressure in energy costs. So we have been careful here. But the key thing here is this. If Mary or John are sitting over in Cloughaneely listening to this radio, you have an option. You have the minister, which says energy prices may go up and up and up, and Sinn Féin's policy is reckless. Because if they do, we want you to pay the bill as opposed to the state, where Sinn Féin are saying, hang on a second, this country has a surplus of €6 billion at this point. This is the time to do what other countries right here doing and give you certainty and peace of mind.
And we know Damien English's stance on that. There's no point going backwards and forwards on that issue. Just one quick question, Damien English. Do you know if the reduction in student fees applies to cross-border students?
This is something that Simon Harris said he's still working on negotiating. It is directly trying to link to people who are working in this country, but there is this ongoing conversation on the cross-border. So Simon Harris said he's been clarity to that this week.
Pierce Doherty, your party was not... So, do you want to come in there?
Our conversations with Simon Harris last night has said that they will not apply across the border. They should apply across the border, but as of now they won't, because I know many parents who have paying fees across the border and wondering if this will apply to them. So as of now, what the Minister has relayed to us is it will not apply. And I'm just saying that get anybody's hopes up. I do hope that there is discussion ongoing and that they can do this. I think there's a way of doing this. I think that people who are studying across the border to get the SUSI grant, I think there could be a bullet payment on that SUSI grant to accommodate the fees that are being paid to the universities and colleges.
It would just be lovely if we on the border and particularly on the border just were forefront in people's minds rather than an afterthought. It always seems to be an afterthought. It was the same through COVID. Minister English...
Greg, just to be clear, it's not an afterthought. The issue is here.
That's what it feels like when you're up here.
The contribution levy is €3,000, and what the commitment yesterday is to reduce that by €1,000. That's that's simple and straightforward. There's always then some other issues then that need to be teased out, and that Simon Harris makes his address and his detail later on today as well, and he can deal with that. But again, that €1,000 is a once-off reduction using taxes that we have this year, thankfully, because of the situation the public finances are in relation to jobs. And then next year, then there is the €500 permanent reduction as well for categories, and we're changing the bands that those people qualifying for the SUSI grant and the SUSI supports will be increased in relation to income threshold, which again is another positive long-term change. So we're moving in the right direction here with some permanent changes as well.
Pierce Doherty, your party also was in favour of a levy on the building industry, 10% on concrete blocks, poured concrete. This is insult to injury for people. If they ever manage to get on a scheme, it's going to cost them an extra 10% for what they might have to contribute, or take 10% really off the value of the scheme. Do you agree with the governments? I know I've spoken to your housing spokesperson on a number of occasions. It's just hard to comprehend again that we're paying for this through direct taxation. We're going to pay for this through a levy, and those who are responsible for this are laughing at us.
Well, I think I've discussed this in your own show before as well, that Sinn Féin are supportive of levies in relation to paying for and making sure that we have 100% redress. That levy isn't just on the construction industry in our view. I think this is too narrow if we look at the detail of what the government are talking about. They're just talking about blocks and concrete products. The banks are one of the biggest beneficiaries in relation to this. They're going to have their mortgages restored, the full value of their mortgages restored. There has to be a contribution from the banks, from the insurance industry, and yes, the construction industry.
But that just gets passed on to the consumer, though. Is there not a better way to do this?
Not necessarily, Greg. There are different ways of doing it. For example, instead of just putting a levy in terms of the product, you could, for example, put a levy in terms of the profit. So therefore, it's not a direct pass on to the customer. But there's also a crucial other element in relation to this here. We have seen construction inflation run away over the last while. It's maybe dipping a wee bit now and coming back to more normal senses, but it is hugely increased. So therefore, the cost of construction, the cost of building your home has increased. We know all of that through the Micah debate and the fact that not enough money has been provided. So there is also an issue in terms of any timing of any levy that would be introduced, but it shouldn't be narrow. And remember, when Phil Hogan was talking about this a couple of years back, it wasn't just on concrete. He recognised at the time, and not for me to be singing the praise of Phil Hogan, but he was looking at the insurance industry, he was looking at the construction industry, he was looking at the banking industry. That's what we need to be doing. Okay. We can't one thing.
Quick word from you, Minister English, on that. As I say,
it's
unpalatable for many.
Just to show your listeners that Ms. Evan Peters don't disagree in everything. I do agree that we still have to explore more ways, because I've said it before from all the times I spent in Donegal with families affected by Micah. The banks are getting an asset that they've invested in through the families as well.
It's not a bailout really for them.
So I want to finish
not
the
to
point.
mention insurance companies as well are ignoring really the scope of your scheme and won't insure houses even if.
Look. I think just to finish the point. Sorry, if I can't.
Go ahead.
I do think we need to continue to explore ways that the banking and insurance contributors do. But just to be clear, I think most people are in favour of this levy.
Okay.
The biggest, most important thing is, though, that the $3 billion is set aside, or whatever it takes, to fix the homes and family homes in Donegal and Mayo and other countries that are coming up as well. That's number one. I think we've all managed to get to that stage. The levy is secondary to the important thing here.
All right, Pierce, last word on this to you.
I think what the minister said there is key, and I think that's really the biggest disappointment from MICA affected families in Donegal and elsewhere, that there wasn't an increase or a substantial increase in relation to the money that's set aside for this. So the government on one hand are talking about bringing in a levy, as I said, wrong time, bringing in €83 million. They're not even going to make €83 million available to MICA families this year.
Well, there's no money being spent, so if the truth.
Well, no, but see, the thing is,
I mean, in terms of houses actually going through the scheme, because it's at a standstill.
Just to be clear, Greg, there's a commitment to fix people's homes. Okay. That's committed there, and that's loud and clear.
Okay.
And let's not deny that.
Sorry, and we just got across Pierce. It's just in the last 20 seconds, and I really appreciate both of your times this morning. Go ahead, Pierce.
I'm just saying, the first thing is the scheme needs to be published. We need to have guarantee that the scheme's going to without delay. And the second thing is the applications that are in need to be progressed very, very quickly. The red tape needs to be cut here. So we do need to see the demolition and reconstruction of houses this year. And crucially, if the money isn't there in 2023, then there's a cap on the amount that can be done. So I think we need to be ambitious. You know, look, we've said this numerous times, both privately and publicly, to different ministers, to recognise where these households are in. We've spent a lot of this programme talking about energy crisis. As I said yesterday in my Dáil contribution, imagine sitting in a MICA house where you're not just thinking about turning off the heat. You're looking at your curtains flapping as the draft is coming through your windows. How do you keep a home like that warm at a time of energy crisis?
You simply can't. All right.
Unbearable. So we need to do as much as possible. We would have put €140 million in there. The government have done what, 6 million extra? I think it's really an insult to MICA families.
All right, thank you very much, Sinn Féin spokesperson on finance, Deputy Pierce Doherty, and that was quite a charge. Do you want 30 seconds to come back on that accusation, Minister English, before we wrap it up?
Yeah, look, again, Pierce is playing with figures here. Everybody knows that the scheme has been approved in the Dáil, and we've debated this at length on your programme everywhere else as well. Rightly so. We know that the cost could be up to $3 billion. We know, and the government of the day have committed to fixing these homes, and that will be done. And that's what has to. The quicker, the better.
Right, okay. Thanks for your time, Minister. I appreciate it. Take care of yourself. That's Minister Damien English. He's the Minister of State at the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment. And we also were listening there to Deputy Pierce Doherty, Sinn Féin spokesperson on finance. Oh, okay. We're going to be sort of drilling into what this budget might mean for your pocket after we take a break for the news and obituary notices.
Would you like to win a Hyundai Kona car? Well, that's the first prize in the St. Eunan's GA Club Development Draw, who are sponsors of this week's 9 till Noon show. There's 9 other great prizes, and tickets are now available online at steunansgadraw.com or any club member.
Join the Highland Road Show from 11:30 until 2 this Thursday, September 29th, as we team up with Bus Éireann to celebrate their customer day at the Letterkenny bus station. We have a cracking music mix and some great merchandise to give away on the day. That's the Highland Road Show this Thursday morning from 11:30 at the Letterkenny bus station.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us
The Lotto Jackpot is an estimated €8 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Your cat probably loves all the typical cat activities. Heading out for a drive, getting their nails done, and walking the red carpet. Keep them living their best life with new Gain Elite cat food. Proudly Irish and formulated for 9 life living. It's got all natural ingredients, recyclable packaging, with pro and prebiotics for digestion and immunity. New Gain Elite cat food. Available at premium pet stores nationwide. Special offers available in participating stores. Terms and conditions apply.
Kia Sportage, Donegal's best-selling car in both new and used. Call into us in Letterkenny or Malin to find out why the Sportage is a Donegal favourite. Take a test drive today and you won't be disappointed.
When it comes to searching for a holiday, Atlantic Travel and Letterkenny deal with all the major tour operators from Dublin and Belfast to find you the best deals available. A week in the sun, a cruise, or maybe a short break. Whatever suits, you can book in confidence with Atlantic, knowing your holiday is protected should something go wrong. Take the hassle and worry out of your holiday booking with the award-winning Atlantic Travel, St Oliver Plunkett Road, Letterkenny. For a quote today, see Facebook, visit atlantictravel.ie or call 9126193.
Experience the best of Oma's rich musical heritage through a weekend of music and events from Thursday 29th of September until Sunday the 2nd of October. Enjoy Oma Music Thrill, exhibition voices and stories from the show band era and Oma's trad folk. On Saturday 1st of October, presenting Oma Show Bands is Highland Radio's Frank Galligan. You'll hear authentic show band sounds from Dominic Kerwin and his band, Ray Moore, Frankie McBride, the Call Brothers, Tony Hutchinson and more. All complemented by a vintage tea dance on Sunday. For more tickets and details, log on to struelartcentre.co.uk.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. The Social Protection Minister has defended the €12 increase in welfare payments announced in yesterday's budget, saying other targeted measures must be taken into account. Representative groups, including Age Action and Alone, have criticised the increase for pensioners, with both groups recommending an increase of over €20. However, Minister Heather Humphreys says other measures must be considered along with the €12.
The €12 increase is across the board increase in all welfare payments, but there have been some very, very comprehensive targeted measures, and I was particularly keen that we would look after older people, because as I said, this is an energy crisis and they feel the cold much more than anybody else. So there's going to be a €400 once-off fuel allowance payment. Of course, we have the Christmas bonuses coming.
However, a Donegal deputy believes the budget has failed to help middle-income families who are facing a very difficult winter. Deputy Thomas Sprinkle says the government missed the chance to provide targeted measures to assist those who really need them by instead using a blanket support. He said the budget provides middle-income households with very little.
So a multimillionaire who owns 10 houses will get 10 times the electricity review, and people struggling, the middle income people who are struggling all the time, and their house will get one amount of that. We need a budget that should have been targeted at the people on the low income, the people who are working and constantly have no other option but to keep going and try and survive. That's the people that should have been assisted, and I think the government missed an opportunity in relation to it.
Well, the Housing Minister says he believes the Concrete Products Levy announced yesterday to part fund the Defective Blocks Redress Scheme will become an annual levy. Minister Darragh O'Brien says the details are now being drawn up for the implementation of the measure. It's due to come into effect in the second quarter of next year.
Minister Donoghue just announced the levy today, and as I said, the workings of that levy and how that will operate and how long that would operate for will be made clearer over the coming weeks, because the levy is not to be in place till April next year. As I said earlier on, though, I do believe it's important that the sector make a contribution. I would imagine that it will be an annual levy, yes.
Over 35,000 people waited over 24 hours in emergency departments across the country in the first 7 months of this year. That includes nearly 12,000 people over the age of 75, according to Freedom of Information figures. The number of patients on trolleys at Letterkenny University Hospital's emergency department increased almost 45% last month. Figures show 136 people without the bed at the hospital during August. During the same period last year, the figure was 61. The average waiting time in an emergency department before admission or discharge was over 7 hours for all age groups. The issue was raised at a meeting this week of the HSC's Regional Health Forum West by Councillor Kieran Brogan. He acknowledges that Letterkenny University Hospital is seeking to address the issue locally, but he says that conversation must go far beyond the hospital grounds.
I think there is genuine efforts being made by the management to try and address the huge concern of the amount of people that are waiting in the A&E in Letterkenny. But I think we need to widen the conversation out to all the stakeholders, and I need to look at maybe strengthen the general practitioner's role and indeed all the primary care system to see if we can do more to keep people out of that hospital system. It is called A&E for a reason. It's accident and emergency, and I think to have some people, particularly elderly people, lying for hours and hours on end is not good enough. It's a very worrying development.
The prosecution of a British soldier in connection with the events of Bloody Sunday will resume today in Belfast. Soldier F is facing 2 charges of murder and 5 of attempted murder in relation to the events of January 30th, 1972. And the Foreign Affairs Minister will meet with the new Northern Secretary in Hillsborough this morning to discuss the North's political crisis. Simon Coveney says restoring power sharing at Stormont and respecting the results of May's election are top of his agenda. Chris Houston Harris was appointed to the position 2 weeks ago by Liz Truss. He's the 5th Northern Secretary in as many years. Minister Simon Coveney says that improving relations with the British government is also one of his priorities.
My focus is really to try to rebuild a partnership with the British government to get back to the institutions and the spirit of the Good Friday Agreement, which hasn't been working for quite some time. So the focus has got to be to get devolved government back up and running again, sooner rather than later, to get North-South cooperation back up and running again, and to get Dublin-London cooperation functioning as it should under the Good Friday Agreement.
Weather forecast, it'll be cool but bright today with sunny spells and some scattered showers, moderate northwest winds, blustery at times. In the vicinity of the showers, it'll feel quite chilly with top temperatures just 11 to 14 degrees Celsius generally. The showers will become more isolated through the afternoon and mostly die out by this evening. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 10 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, good morning.
Obituary notices for Wednesday morning, September 28th. The death has taken place of Lily Brosnan, née McIntyre, formerly of Glebe Hollow, Stranorlar, and Sudbury Hill, Wembley, London. Funeral arrangements to be confirmed later. The death has taken place of PJ O'Donnell, 14 Wolftone Place, Letterkenny, and formerly of Termon, reposing at his late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow afternoon at 12:30 p.m, going to St Eunan's Cathedral for 1 p.m. Requiem Mass, which can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. Interment afterwards to Cornwall Cemetery. Family time please from 10 p.m. until 12 noon and on the morning of the funeral. Rosary tonight at 9 p.m. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu of flowers if desired to the Intensive Care Unit, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. The death has occurred of Ita Blake, 53, The Elms, Glencar, reposing at her late residence until 9 p.m. this evening from 12 noon with Rosary at 9 p.m. Funeral from her home tomorrow morning going to St Eunan's Cathedral for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass, which can be viewed on churchservices.tv, followed by interment in Cornwall Cemetery. Family time please on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only, donations if wished to the Donegal Hospice, care of Pascal Blake, funeral director. The death has taken place of Rose O'Donnell, 26, Convent Road, Carndonagh, née McGohan, Greenbank, Quigley's Point. Funeral leaving from her late home this morning at 10:30 a.m, going to the Church of the Sacred Heart, Carndonagh, for a Requiem Mass at 11 a.m, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Michael Bernard Mickey B. McElhinney, late of 12 Millside Crescent Park, County Derry. Funeral from his sister's home, 21 Stony Wood, Victoria Road, Derry, this morning for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Altonmuir, with interment immediately afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. And the death has occurred of Sarah Sally Talon, 18 Wheatfield Court, Muff, formerly Leixlip, County Kildare. Removal from her home this morning to the Sacred Heart Church, Muff, for a Requiem Mass at 11 a.m, followed by private cremation in Lakelands, County Cavan. Sarah's Requiem Mass can be viewed on mcnmedia.tv. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu if desired to the Irish Cancer Society, care of any family member or Murphy funeral directors. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the second hour of the show. A very good morning to you if you're just joining us here on the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. OK, without further ado, let's take the bingo numbers. Just to remind you, by the way, that if you play bingo, thank you. Not only can you win daily cash prizes in the hundreds, but you're also in line for a jackpot, potentially, on a Thursday. And just to remind you, you're supporting the National Council for the Blind of Ireland. They do amazing work for people who get, whether they're born with vision issues or get news when they go to see a specialist. The National Council for the Blind of Ireland are there whenever any of us might actually need them. And the money that you raise through playing the bingo is spent locally as well to support their work here, to support your fellow community members. Now, if you've never played it before, by the way, it's €1 a day, €5 for the week. So, obviously play within your means and play for fun. But you can join and play whenever you like. You might go into your local newsagents, your local shop, your local wherever, and you'll see the books there. They're sitting there. You can pick one up and play any day. We play the numbers out, mostly when I remember them. We play the numbers out just after the 10 o'clock news, and you mark off the numbers, and you could win. As I say, we've cash prizes to give away every day. It's a couple hundred every day, and if it's not won one day, it goes on to the next, and it is given away. It's won. It's not aspirational. And then, of course, we have the jackpot. But it's not a club. It's not something that you have to be in at the start to play. You can join any time. You can play for just 1 week. You can gift it to someone as well. A nice wee present for someone. So the thing is that you can win. You can win big too, but you're supporting the National Council for the Blind of Ireland. And I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll get a list of some of the recent winners as well, just to give you a sense of the amount of money people are winning and where they're buying the books. And we'll get that together, and I'll give it to you tomorrow, maybe ahead of the jackpot numbers. But anyway, if you are playing today, here are the numbers. Stay tuned. We've got some really interesting stuff to talk about over the next hour and 50 minutes, and I'd love you to stay with us to hear all that.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, the 28th of September. You're playing on the blue sheet. The reference number is S13. It's game number 39. The numbers are 3, 68, 60, 70, 26, 14, 21, 37, 83, and finally 19. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with St Eunan's GA Club Development Draw. €40,000 in prizes. First prize, a Hyundai Kona car, plus 9 other great prizes. Tickets now available online at steunансgadraw.com or any club member.
Don't sleep in and miss the very latest beds and mattress offers from dfibeds.ie, Ireland's leading online bed and mattress retailer. You'll get a comfy Irish-made mattress, upholstered base and headboard from an amazing €229. Check out the full range at dfibeds.ie. Delivery free and guaranteed to you within 7 working days. DFI Beds. Sleep well, live well.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience. Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP rooms, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
Nutria's Winter Beef Feed offer, directly supported by the Arrivo Fodder Support Fund, is now available at your local Homeland store. Buy 10 bags of Nutria's Super Beef Gold ATP or Nutria's Max Maize Mix, get one free. The Nutria's Beef ATP pack enhances animal performance through maximising rumen efficiency. T's and C's apply. Contact your local Homeland or farm commercial specialist today. Visit nutrias.ie for full product details.
The Foy & Company Autumn Sale ends this Saturday. Get amazing discounts to get your home ready for the festive season, with up to 50% off selected lines across all departments. Chat with Foy's interior design and colour experts to find out how you can make over your home on a budget with the Foy & Company Autumn Sale. Order now for guaranteed Christmas delivery. Don't miss the Foy & Company Autumn Sale in store in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet and online at foys.ie.
Paul Claffey Tours are delighted to announce that we're heading back to sunny Spain in June 2023, staying at the luxury Barossa Hotel Complex, Cadiz, Spain from June 8th to 15th. Joining Paul for this unforgettable week will be some of Ireland's best loved entertainers, Mike Denver, and many friends including Brendan Shine, Dominic Kerwin, John McNichol, Jerry Guthrie, Stephen Smith, Jim Devine, Clina Hagan, The Conquerors, Aisling Rafferty, Ger Long and many more. The price is only €1,079 half board plus tax and insurance. Call 01 685 2244 or see paulclaffeytours.com and don't miss the holiday of a lifetime.
Okay, we talk about Letterkenny University Hospital on a regular basis, and we know there are issues there, things that need to be addressed, things that could be improved, people's experience. But for the most part, people are complimentary towards the staff, doing their best in difficult situations. It's a tough job that they have to do. Let's make no mistake about that. On top of that, they should not have to contend with issues that require the intervention of An Garda Síochána. Well, that's happened 21 times between January 1st, 2022 and September 12th, 2022. And we've learned this off the back of a question which was tabled by Councillor Albert Doherty at a recent Regional Health Forum meeting, and he joins us now. Good morning to you, Albert.
Good morning, Greg.
What made you feel this is a question that needed to be asked?
Principally, listening to those at the coalface, our health workers, listening to stories emanating from emergency areas of foul and abusive language, of physical disturbances, and lastly, of security at the hospitals. And particularly, I was responding on Letterkenny University Hospital, particularly where it was deemed necessary to seek Garda assistance. I purposely did not want to include the Christmas or New Year's Eve period. I went from January 1st till the last day for submitting a question, and really the statistic that 4 or 5 times a month, maybe 4 times a month or so, Gardaí are having to be called and respond to unwanted circumstances at the hospital.
Now,
and I found that
you found it what?
Very
sorry?
disappointing.
Okay, yeah.
I find that very disappointing.
In asking the questions, you got the information out into the public forum, and I think that's very worthwhile, so people understand what often people working in that environment have to deal with. Beyond that, there is security, obviously, because it's the security that contacted the Gardaí, and the Gardaí did respond on all occasions. What else do you hope to achieve from this? Can more be done to improve the working environment for doctors and nurses and other staff at the hospital in this context then?
Most certainly. For those who work in the hospital and for those with families having to attend hospital, the hospital environment should be seen as a sanctuary of assistance for those seeking help, and should also be a safe area in which to work for all of those involved in the hospital staffing. So I think it's incumbent on all hospital stakeholders, from management right down to security, to ensure that they listen, and if there's a review or an upgrade required, that it's implemented, and that up to now we also, after what our health workers went through with COVID, we have to really, really compliment the forbearance of all to date, but their safety and their sort of being able to happy and coming to their work and not be worried about, I wonder what will happen today.
How is that achieved, do you think? Because I think the INMO are making similar calls they have in the past, so I wonder how we achieve that. I think we'd all aspire to that.
Well, the answer to resolve it will be all working together and acknowledging that it's the statistics there, that there's an issue to be confronted, and all parties, from management right down to the unions, right down to those working in security or for security, that they all have a hearing and that they can work together, resolve, and hopefully end the actions that have been really upsetting that have occurred in emergency departments.
Another issue we've been tracking here in this programme, as have you and other local elected representatives, that's the staffing situation at Cashel Nicor Disability Day Services in Bunkrano. For those who aren't familiar with what's going on there at the moment, what is the situation in terms of the facilities it could be providing versus what it is providing compared to perhaps maybe pre-COVID? What is the story at the moment at Cashel Nicor?
Cashel Nicor has reduced access, reduced opening when compared to what was previously enjoyed. And this has put a significant onus and pressure on families and left service users or clients also challenged that the facility that they were looking forward to enjoy was not open to them. But what has been critical is that roles presently at Cashel Nicor, roles are currently being covered from existing staff resources within the wider disability services, which HSE confirm is impacting on capacity. And what was very disturbing to hear yesterday, that the appointment of management, new management, which they say is critical for services to be delivered, advertised last November. Now, interviews are due to take place this month. That's 11 months later almost. And I'm hopeful that the period in between now will be used positively to ensure that we can further increase facilities for all those families, clients, and that we can put the appropriate mix of staff in situ sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and that's I think timing is the issue. It seems to be in terms of the wording. They've given you the right answer. What you've talked about there, they say this review will ensure consideration is given to a staff skill mix which will match to the needs of service users and help towards advancing a return to pre-COVID day service levels at the centre. So you and the HSC, on the same page. It comes down to timing now, doesn't it? Because families.
It is coming down to timing, but sitting and listening to councillors from Malin Head to Galway who presented HSE officials with items yesterday, we found ourselves talking about, and I don't like this word, but the black hole of the Northwest as regards enticing employment, enticing management, enticing personnel to come and live in our local area. And we're at all times promoting Donegal, promoting the Northwest City region, promoting the good life that families can have here. And that message I still has to be put out to and through HSE
100%.
personnel.
Yeah, exactly. And I suggested in the past maybe the council or whatever, and maybe media could be involved in it, some sort of an open day or some sort of a campaign in that regard, to take control of this situation ourselves. But also, does the recruitment process need to be such that maybe someone needs to be paid a little bit more to locate in Donegal than elsewhere? Do you know what I mean? Maybe the promotion of the area, bigging it up, is not enough. Maybe people need more money in their pockets, but I don't think the system allows for that.
Greg, the line that they returned yesterday that I thought was glaring and requires intensive assessment was, recruitment has been challenging to date. That's what I've heard in many sectors. So it's time HSE and other employers lifted the gauntlet and said, what is not enabling and enticing people to come into the Northwest? Have a good powwow on it, and if it's salary increase, fine, but it should be matched by all the facilities that we can offer that are on our doorstep, and it must be followed up then with appropriate investment from government where we're found to be falling down.
Councillor Albert Doherty, thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it. Back with more after the break.
Cutting through the spin. The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Would you like to win a Hyundai Kona car? Well, that's the first prize in the St. Eunan's GA Club Development Draw, who are sponsors of this week's 9 till noon show. There's 9 other great prizes, and tickets are now available online at steunan'sgadraw.com or any club member.
The future of public transport is bright, with the Transport for Ireland network growing and improving throughout the country. Increased demand for bus travel has led to many exciting new professional bus driver vacancies across a wide range of bus companies. Driving a bus for a living can offer long-term job stability and contributes towards a greener, more sustainable community. It's time to explore a role in bus driving that moves you and others. Visit transportforireland.ie to find out more.
Are you thinking of transferring your family farm? If so, Teagasc are holding a Transferring the Farm Family Clinic and the Radisson Blue Hotel Letterkenny on Tuesday the 4th of October from 10:30am to 1pm. This is an opportunity to meet with local solicitors, accountants, mediators and other relevant parties to help you make a plan for the future. You can register for this event at teagasc.ie or contact your local Teagasc office. This is a free event and open to everyone.
From the smallest shrub to the largest tree in an awkward place, Donnelly Tree Services provide a complete range of tree surgery services. Whether you need to remove a dangerous tree or some nuisance branches, Donnelly Tree Services have the experience and expertise to carry out tree surgery to the highest of professional standards. Call 083 005 9939. Donnelly Tree Services, Donegal. No job is too small, no tree is too tall.
Have you an account with Ulster Bank or KBC?
Yeah.
Do you get a social welfare payment into your account?
Yep.
Your bank is leaving the Irish market.
Yeah, that's right.
Have you switched to a new bank and updated your new account details with the Department of Social Protection?
Updated?
You need to let us know your new account details to ensure you continue to get your social welfare payment. The quickest way to update your account details is online at mywelfare.ie.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Attention all farmers. Inishowen Cooperative Society present a beef and sheep information night at the Inishowen Gateway Hotel on Thursday the 29th of September at 7:30pm. Experts on the night from Inishowen Co-op, Teagasc, Irish Country Meats and Board Bia, followed by refreshments. That's this Thursday, a beef and sheep information evening at the Inishowen Gateway Hotel, Bunkrano.
For a real taste of Donegal, try some new season potatoes from John Edwards & Sons Ramelton. Donegal's finest potatoes, grown and packed in Ramelton by John Edwards & Sons. To celebrate National Potato Day, watch out for packs at special prices in shops throughout Donegal this week.
Okay, some of your comments coming in here, and I'll tell you, we've been really busy on them. Didn't this government truly help to keep the young nurses and doctors in this country? They need extra medical staff increased immediately. Another, I'm on disability. What is €12 per week going to do? To hell with me. I won't be able to pay my energy bill. Can't be done, just not feasible. Government should have intervened with these energy companies. Who runs this country? Well, you will get a series of €200 payments towards your electricity bill. Ask Deputy Doherty, can he do anything about our water supply in the Lecce area? Broke from buying water. Another one here. They could have removed the carbon tax now, as we're all going to use smokeless coal. In terms of the carbon tax, it is being offset at the pumps anyway, in terms of petrol and diesel. The universal social charge was supposed to be an emergency tax to help the country get on its feet. Surely Sinn Féin should be looking to abolish it altogether. I just wonder, is it so hard grained into the tax system? Now, that might be more difficult, I don't know. Has any of the government ministers or any of the TDs any shares or any financial interests in any of the energy companies, either here in Ireland or abroad? If they have, it's a possible reason as to why they're so opposed to putting a price cap on energy prices. Well, you can go on to, I think, a price cap on energy prices. By the way, just be clear on that. This is good news for energy companies, because the price cap means that you pay, if it were introduced, say you pay €150 a month. Let's just use that arbitrary figure. But if it's €250 is the actual cost of your electricity, the government would pay the electricity provider the balance. Okay, so they would be insulated. In fact, the price cap might be even better, arguably, for energy companies. So, but in any case, by the way, you can go on to the website of the Oireachtas, and you can go through all of your local TDs or whichever TDs you're interested in. There's a declaration of interest if they're all up to date, and it'll tell you what they have interests in, etc. Was the VAT removed for people buying defibs for personal use or for community groups? All I heard was the VAT from January 1st, I believe, is being removed from buying defibs. So I'm not quite sure in terms of those for personal use or not. Can someone explain the Susie Grant thing for third level? We'll try and get to that a little later on. What is the cheapest electricity company to be with on at the moment? You can go to some of those comparison sites. They will tell you. It's complicated. Sometimes it can be complicated. But and it depends. Do you want to do prepay, not prepay? Please ask the lovely minister why. Please ask the lovely minister why they're taking so many pay rises for themselves. A few families could live on one of their wages alone. They're a disgrace. Well, all of them are, whether they're government or not, are getting pay rises. It's linked to public pay deals. I'm a pensioner and very happy with the budget, one of the best yet. Piers Doherty can talk, but has no financial qualifications. God help Ireland whenever he becomes financial minister. I'm not sure. I don't know Piers Doherty's financial background in finances. That being said, that is one person happy with the budget. Who in their right mind would come off on social welfare when they're getting 2 double doles and a €400 fuel allowance? They would be out of their mind to look for a job now, which is an interesting point. Ask the minister why and explain why they gave themselves a €6,500 pay rise and nothing for the people who are struggling with the cost of living. How do I claim for fuel allowance and who's entitled to fuel allowance? Okay, we'll try and get a more detailed answer to that one for you. The €12 should have been added this week, not January. Can we double check when the social welfare €12 increase begins? Is it this week? I was under the impression that might have been part of a package that starts imminently, but I'll get that clarified for you. I know some of you listening already know. I just want to make sure, because others are asking when does the payment start, so we'll try and get an answer to you for that. Hi, Greg. If you've already paid the €3,000 college fees, do you get a refund? That's another good question I wouldn't mind an answer to. Hi, Greg. I know you're on about budget. Can you please tell me when we get extra money and extra payments? Stay with me. We'll try and get some clarification on that. So, Caroline, Mark will be joining us. We have a financial expert to answer those questions. Right, keep them coming into us. I'll get to them as we go. But listen, we've had a heavy enough hour and a half so far. Let's take some music. I want to let you know that there's a coffee morning in aid of palliative care in our community of West Donegal today from 10:30 to 12:30. It's just kicked off. It's in a Temple, Crone in Dunlow. Please support as every cup counts. That's coming in from Donna. So if you're in and around Dunlow, get into Inner Temple Crone and get yourself a cuppa and support that great service, important service. And also Audrey Macbeth in Moneen and Lifford. Happy birthday, 80 today from John and Mary McIntyre in Lifford.
Tickets are now available online at steunensgadraw.com or any club member.
The cost of living crisis has us living in uncertain times. As prices constantly rise, it leaves us wondering, will everything that goes up always come down? With the budget speech comes more uncertainty. What impact will it have, and what will it mean for you? The Irish Independent look to answer the important questions in their budget supplement, an essential guide that explains how Budget 2023 impacts you and your finances. You'll find it in Wednesday's Irish Independent, up close and independent.
The young bakers are trying to make our Brennan's family pan and Be Good go viral on something called TikTok, says old Mr. Brennan. Viral TikTok, says I. I knew a fella who suffered from that. No way, says he. Ah, yeah, but he didn't make a song and dance about it. Although, says he, one thing worth making noise about is that anything baked is better with Brennan's. Today's bread today.
At Cooney's Home Interiors, we pride ourselves on offering you the very best in choice, quality and value on all home furnishings. Treat your home with a visit to Cooney's today and choose from our large range of suites, tables, beds, not to mention our large selection of home accessories. Our motto is, if you see it, you can buy it, and we will deliver it to your door. Cooney's Home Interiors, Letterkenny Retail Park. Style and perfection at incredible value.
The Donegal Suffolk Sheep Breeders Show and Sale will take place this Friday, 30th of September at Reformart. The show is at 6 with the sale at 7:30. Ram lambs, shearling rams and select females available with online bidding via the Mart Bid app.
Since she got her free hearing aids with her PRSI at Specsavers, Roisin is a changed woman. Music has never sounded better, and that makes her dance. And dance. And dance. Her singing, though, well...
Free hearing aids with PRSI at Specsavers. Music to your ears. Find out more online. Terms and conditions apply.
At Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles, the wait is over. Production is back. Now your plans can really begin. Whether that's scaling your business or smartening your service offering, with HP Finance from 3.9%, purchase contributions of up to €3,000 and service plans from €12.99 per month, don't wait. Secure your next Caddy Cargo, Transporter 6.1 or Crafter at your local Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles dealer or visit volkswagenvans.ie. Be ready to really deliver. Offers for business customers only. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland and subject to lending criteria. Terms and conditions apply.
Call into Connolly's Volkswagen Letterkenny today or visit connellys.ie to book a test drive.
Okay, we're joined now by financial expert Mark Keown. Good morning, Mark. How are you keeping?
Yeah, I'm good, Greg. And you?
I'm good. What's your initial reaction to the budget yourself as, not a dog in the race politically as such?
Yeah, I think... it's quite an unprecedented budget, whatever your political hue. The continued kind of boom in the multinational companies' corporation tax receipts have led to this really unusual situation in that governments, whatever colour or stripe they might have been, would have had billions to spend in this budget. So what's really interesting is the way the government has chose to allocate those funds. So it is quite a remarkable package overall. I mean, 11 billion in total, 4.1 billion on once-off measures, and 6.9 billion in permanent measures. So there is an awful lot of money sloshing about in this budget.
Talk to me a little bit about corporation tax before we get to some questions. The advice is that this is not a tax to be leaned on into the long term. In other words, you don't plan spending on health and education based on potential long term, based on corporate tax receipts. So why is it such a... Firstly, I mean, obviously, why did we get this big windfall? But why is it such an uncertain tax then?
Yeah, I mean, actually, Pascal O'Donoghue did in fairness, talk about that uncertainty in his budget speech yesterday. Just 10 big companies now provide over 10% of our total tax income. So if you imagine if Facebook, Apple and Google up sticks and moved out, it would be a massive blow to our national finances. I mean, we do, for all of this tax take, still have quite a high level of national debt.
But it's the highest in Europe.
Yeah, so 44,000 per household. So although this budget does not in any way add to the national debt, unlike the recent budget in the UK.
Word, yeah. They don't even know how much it adds or how much it's going to cost them. It's crazy stuff. Anyway, I'd love to talk a bit about that too, but listen, we better focus on the budget in the last 24 hours.
We're in the opposite position. So we did in this budget, because these taxes are so unreliable, we did shift monies and commit to more monies into the National Reserve Fund, or the rainy day fund as I call it. So we are putting some of that tax take aside, just in case these companies, which, let's face it, they're global companies, we have been quite smart and played the game in the way that we've charged corporation tax in Ireland for recent decades now.
Of course, but pressure on us potentially having to increase that to 15%. As you say, we don't know at a whim what these big companies would do. There's no necessarily immediate threat to any of these companies departing Ireland, but we are so reliant in them, it would be foolish of us not to prepare for life without them.
Yeah, and around the world, governments, prudent governments, have created these rainy day funds for situations like that. In Norway, for example, where they have oil reserves that won't go on for future generations, they've done a similar thing. I think that is a sensible move by the Irish government, not to splurge at all. But that said, we are splurging quite a lot in this particular budget package. I mean, it is the largest, I think, of recent history, if not ever.
Right. So the maximum rate of weekly social welfare payments, that is €12, and there's proportional increases for qualified adults and people on reduced rates of payment. January 2023, that kicks in. What other payments can people expect in the nearer term in terms of the energy payment, bonus payments, Mark?
Yeah, so let me just break down kind of into a couple of categories, because it's almost a laundry list of small once-off payments, incremental once-off payments. So if we look at energy first, so all households will receive the 600 credit. That's going to be in three €200 installments. So that's the blanket charge to try and deal, at least in part, with the energy crisis that we have off the back of the situation in Ukraine, etc. There are a series of more targeted measures to try and get to the households that are perhaps the most hard pressed financially. So there's 500 that will go to those families on the working family allowance. There's 200 for those on the living alone allowance. There's 400 more on the fuel allowance, and also there's expanded eligibility, bringing that into an extra 80,000 people. And then again, really to help lessen the impact of the cost of living crisis, there's a double payment in pensions and a double payment of welfare. So
has that all been timelined? So the welfare, there's a payment, an additional payment in early October and one ahead of Christmas. Do we know when the other payments, the electricity payments, and the likes of the fuel allowance payments and the bonus for those living alone, do we know when those payments are going to be paid?
Yeah, I mean, what's quite unusual, usually in a budget, the actual measures kick off in the 2023 period. That's usually what happens. But I think with one eye on the looming crisis in energy and the coming winter, these payments generally have been spread, so they can. A lot of them are happening, or part of them are happening, are expected in November. and then they'll be kind of split into 3 chunks. So that generally some of these are coming a bit sooner than would be normal given the urgency of the cost of living crisis.
Yep. Now, some of these questions don't have answers yet, and some of them do. If you've already paid, and I was thinking about this yesterday, if you've already paid your €3,000 college fees, do you get a refund? Because
you do, and you know, I'm actually in that situation myself. I've got a child in GCU, so the actual money will be coming back. So you will get a refund on that. You don't miss out.
I mean, that is going to feel like a bonus payment to some as well, because that would have been dead money written off. So if they're getting part of that refunded, that is not insignificant for families, because so many, especially in this part of the world, Mark, and not exclusively either, you know, they're really having to cut corners to give their young ones the best start in life. So that's going to be a nice lift for some families out there.
No, it is, Greg, and I think that's the other part. So I talked about how energy has been supported and how particularly that's been targeted. There is quite a nice package overall on education. There is, as we just talked about, the third level fees being reduced by 1,000. Now, that's just this year, but there is a commitment to do that by 500 ongoing. So that you've got this mix of kind of a once-offs and some ongoing commitments as well. Student grants, this depends, obviously, the SUSI grant depends on how much you're earning, but between 10 to 14% increase, a commitment to that, depending on your income. We've obviously got the free school books for primary school kids, and you know, that probably opens the door to the inevitable secondary school, but not in this budget. So just primary school committed at this point. And then, of course, you've got the reduction in childcare costs. So the way that one's going to work is that will be going to the providers. The providers will get an increased level of subsidy. So that's 175 a month. And the providers are capped. The part of the agreement the government struck is that the providers can't increase their prices, so they can't pass that on. So that should mean a real reduction in terms of child care costs moving forward. Of about 25% at 175. And then the last one in terms of people with kids is child benefit. So there'll be an extra payment in November per child. So that'll be 140. So again, you know, the idea is that if you've got kids, then probably the cost of living crisis is hitting you harder. So you kind of see a logic in all of these once-offs to try and target it to people of lower income, to target it to people who perhaps got higher expenses. But of course, there will be blind spots in this, and you know,
and there'll be people miss out from a lot of this stuff for €2 or €3 as well, which is unfortunately the way it is.
Yeah.
Is it easy to discuss who's entitled to the fuel allowance, the bands for it? A lot of questions coming in on that. People, a pensioner on a contributory pension, are they eligible for the fuel allowance? One asks, how do I claim for the fuel allowance and who's entitled to it? Is there an easy answer to that, or is that to go through maybe? I actually don't even know where to direct people to.
Well, I mean, the citizens' information do have quite a good.
Yeah, we might print that, Caroline. We might print out the citizens' information details on the fuel allowance, if that's all right, and we'll bring that to the.
Yeah, they do have quite a good website on that option. Now, the actual criteria for the fuel allowance, has changed, so that has expanded to an extra 80,000 people. So it is definitely having a look to see whether you fall in that expanded eligibility.
Do we know if students doing a master's will also get the reduction? That's quite a specific one. I'm not sure. We don't want to mislead anyone, but it's very specific, isn't it?
It is quite specific. But generally, I think the intention is that these will apply to third level fees. I'm not definite, but in principle, I wouldn't have seen why not. But I'm not 100% sure.
A lot of upset, particularly along the border, I'd imagine. A lot of students studying in Northern Ireland, and unfortunately, as it stands, they're not going to get any refund or any break on students' fees if they're attending the North. This caller says, me and my partner, we are both living in Donegal. We pay our taxes to Dublin, but our daughter's in Queens. It's a joke. Well, it's not a funny joke, but it is a joke that they're not getting.
Yeah, and more and more people, because of the housing crisis in Dublin in particular, have looked north not just people kind of in the border regions, but right across the country. Their kids have gone to Queen's or the universities in the north. So a lot of people will be in that position. I mean, there's a bit of a fig leaf. There has been a little bit of a talk about, Simon Harris has mentioned that there might be something done, but there's nothing in the package.
If things aren't at least some way over the line come budget day, it would concern me because it just dies away then. Is it easy to answer this one, Mark? How will the budget affect a single income family of six, 2 adults, 4 children under 13, their salaries around 47,000. So they'll get more of the money in terms of the band being increased to 40, the tax band being increased into 40, presumably.
Yeah.
Where else might they benefit? 2 adults, 4 children, 1 income, and all the children are under 13.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be different in every case, but if we just take this as an example case, so I mean, the average income in Ireland, now this is somewhat skewed by those people in the tech companies in Dublin, but it's 55,000. So there'll be a lot of people who will be over the 40,000 mark due to kind of the way the economy has been going. So those people, there was an increase from the 36,800 band to the 40,000 band. So this would apply in this case. That would mean that this family would be being taxed at 20% or more of their income. In fact, the vast majority of their income. Interestingly enough, now with these changes, 70% of taxpayers will just be charged at 20%, which is that's actually significant, and it is actually a structural move. This isn't a once-off. Once we've moved to this, it'll be very difficult to move back. So that's quite a big change. That will put in people's pocket, an additional 640. So for this family, that's 640. There's also some tweaks on USC and personal tax credits. So all in, the income this family will get net of tax will be about 830 more.
And then in the short term, obviously, there are 3 electricity payments, Do double welfare payments extend to children's allowance?
Well, there is a double, an extra one that will be paid in November. So that's 140 per child. So I think you said 4 children.
Yeah.
So that would be eligible as well. And then, of course, you've got the 600. And then depending on where the kids are in education, there's some package changes there. So,
right.
I mean, really, if people are earning over 40,000, they're probably looking at 1.5, 2, depending on how many children. If they are kind of in receipt of welfare, then these packages do add up to around 2,000. There is a kind of a blind spot in the middle of people who are earning below 40,000, who perhaps aren't renting, the so-called box room generation, who are living with their parents, who potentially miss out entirely on everything.
Yeah.
So
there's also a sense too that this budget, in the last 30 seconds, Mark, please, that given what's being announced, that if someone is on social welfare, it might discourage them from going into employment. Particularly, a lot of the jobs, for instance, in our region here, maybe minimum wage or slightly above it. Do you see that as an issue as the government try and get more people back to work? Is it maybe getting even more attractive to be on welfare?
I think it is a slight risk, but I think generally this tends to get over exaggerated, because once you start on the working ladder, then there's other opportunities.
Yeah. And less than 5% of people are unemployed in this country, and you take out those that are long-term unemployed. We are at effectively full employment, you could argue. Mark, listen, thanks for all your time. Money Sherpa, founder of, people can search moneysherpa.ie or .com, isn't it, Mark?
.ie.
moneysherpa.ie, and they offer loads of different services. Mark, thanks for being back on the show again. I really appreciate it. I really do. Lisa Hone is part of the Micah Action Group committee and a home owner. And we're going to ask Lisa, good morning to you. We're going to ask you about this 10% levy. I mean, it's insult to injury if you're a Micah homeowner. If you ever got on this scheme and got it working and you do have to contribute, it's a 10% tax. Or it also reduces potentially the value of any grants that are available if people could access them. What's the feeling from your perspective, the Micah Action Group's perspective on this levy on the industry?
Is just a huge sense of frustration. I mean, effectively, when the state messes up, the people pay. And the reaction from CAF reps, we heard speaking yesterday after the announcement for the budget, was it's very clear that this is going to be passed straight down to consumers. It's going to be a double whammy, as you rightly point out, for those who are trying to rebuild their homes. It's another layer of cost that they're going to have to take into account. And still, we've got quarries who last year, who we know supplied defective products into areas reporting multi-billion profits.
Reacting to this news this morning, the head of the Irish Home Builders Association, he described the defective block scandal that we're enduring here in Donegal and 13 other counties. He said, my understanding is it's some one-off houses in Donegal. Can you imagine being the head of the Irish Home Builders Association, and that is as much as you are across this scandal? Leo Varadkar also, incidentally, today said he's frustrated there hasn't been any prosecutions of people involved in making defective concrete blocks, which in part led to the new concrete levy in Budget 2023. None of that butters the parsnips, really, because this is a levy on the industry. Really, it's a levy on us, Lisa.
It absolutely is. And it just goes back to what I said straight off, where the state messes up, the people pay. So you've got not one quarry closed, not one prosecution, the same light touch regulation in place that was in place when this whole scandal occurred and may still be going on, because we have industry professionals still reporting regulatory breaches that they believe are ongoing as recently as June 2022. As witnesses to the Housing Committee hearing. So it's a joke, to be honest. And
Not to mention,
I think
too,
it's
the
a
insurance
PR exercise, I think it's a PR exercise and window dressing on behalf of the government. It makes them look like they're doing something, or they can spout about it, when Dara is standing in the Dáil ongoing. But in terms of actually addressing the heart of the matter, in terms of actually addressing those who are responsible with consequences and accountability, and actually making them account for their behaviour, and actually making sure that this cannot go on into the future. It does not address any of that.
Yeah, not to mention that the banks too are laughing as they're being bailed out again, and the insurance companies are laughing at the scheme, because even if you return your house to what it was before, and you still have sort of an internal leaf with Micah, or your foundation may have Micah, they won't actually give you house insurance. They're completely uncontrolled, and as I say, they aren't taking this scheme at all seriously, obviously, and the banks are loving it.
And there's no incentive. There's no incentive there for any of the parties, any of the stakeholders that should be accountable in this situation.
Okay, we've lost our connection to Lisa Hone there. She's part of the Micah Action Group Committee and a homeowner as well. We will, of course, be speaking to Lisa and more reps from that group, that committee, in the future, but we'll take a break and head to the news. We got what Lisa had to say. They're not happy, needless to say, because how could you be looking at it?
The 9 till noon show with St Eunan's GA Club Development Draw. €40,000 in prizes. First prize, a Hyundai Kona car, plus 9 other great prizes. Tickets now available online at steunans.gadraw.com or any club member.
While nobody likes thinking about their own funeral, it's still always better to be thinking ahead. That's why An Post Insurance offers easy-to-arrange funeral insurance with no medical required and fixed premiums for Republic of Ireland residents aged between 50 and 75. Call us today on 0818 222222 or visit onpostinsurance.ie. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. One Direct Ireland Limited trading as An Post Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. One Direct Ireland Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of An Post. Life insurance policies are underwritten and provided by New Ireland Assurance Company plc. An Post Insurance is a tied agent of New Ireland Assurance Company plc for life insurance business.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey, Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. For a real taste of Donegal, try some new season potatoes from John Edwards & Sons Ramelton. Donegal's finest potatoes, grown and packed in Ramelton by John Edwards & Sons. To celebrate National Potato Day, watch out for packs at special prices in shops throughout Donegal this week.
There's a lot to consider when buying a used car. So consider this. The Audi Approved Plus range gives you unrivaled reassurance. A 12-month warranty and roadside assistance, age and mileage verification, all original Audi parts for repairs and replacements. And that's all after our rigorous 110-point check. Audi Approved Plus. Living progress in every detail. Contact your Audi dealer and choose your used car today.
Attention all farmers. Inishowen Cooperative Society present a beef and sheep information night at the Inishowen Gateway Hotel on Thursday the 29th of September at 7:30 p.m. Experts on the night from Inishowen Co-op, Teagasc, Irish Country Meats and Board Bia, followed by refreshments. That's this Thursday, a beef and sheep information evening at the Inishowen Gateway Hotel, Bunkrano.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Okay, it is just approaching 11:minutes. Minister Charlie McConlough is going to be joining us very shortly, but first, let's get a news update now and say good morning once again to Emma Ryan.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Taoiseach says he's frustrated there have been no prosecutions of people involved in making defective blocks. It comes after the government introduced a 10% levy on concrete in yesterday's budget. The €80 million raise will be partly used to fund the defective blocks remediation scheme. Enterprise Minister Leo Varadkar says he would like to see more action taken against those responsible for the defects. A 74-year-old Letterkenny farmer has been fined and banned from keeping animals for 10 years after being convicted of a number of animal cruelty offences. At Letterkenny District Court this week, sentence was passed on Leslie Stewart of the Thorn, Letterkenny. He pleaded guilty to 16 of 30 charges at a previous court sitting. Gardaí were called to Letterkenny University Hospital a total of 21 times during an 8-month period this year. Councillor Albert Doherty says the force responding to the calls from the hospital security between January 1st and September 12th is 21 times is too much. It leads to calls for security upgrades to be implemented at the hospital. Meanwhile, over 35,000 people waited over 24 hours in emergency departments in the first 7 months of this year. It includes nearly 12,000 people aged over the age of 75. The number of patients on trolleys in Letterkenny University Hospital's emergency department increased almost 45% last month. Figures show there were 136 people without a bed at the hospital during August. A Donegal deputy believes the budget has failed to help middle-income families who are facing into a difficult winter. Deputy Thomas Pringle believes the government missed the chance to provide targeted measures to assist those who really need it by instead using a blanketed approach. And finally, the prosecution of a British soldier in connection with the events of Bloody Sunday is to resume today in Belfast. Soldier F is facing charges of murder and attempted murder in relation to one of the worst attacks during the Troubles. That's all for now. We'll be back with a news update again at 12 noon.
Thank you very much, Emma. Back after the break with more.
Is your current car ready for a change? If so, now is a good time to visit DMG Motors Donegal Town, as we have a great selection of quality approved Skoda and Seat used cars which are serviced, cleaned and ready to go. With finance available and cars to suit all budgets, let us help you upgrade your car today. For more information, call DMG Motors on 074 97 21 396 or view our current used stock on dmgmotors.ie.
Fancy a lunch out today? Kelly's Diner in Letterkenny have a menu packed with great value selections, and there's also specials every day. Or enjoy a 3-course Sunday lunch from 12 to 3 for just $16.75. Take a seat for the best value lunch in town at Kelly's award-winning diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Hello everybody, it's me, Tommy Tiernan. I'm playing the Mount Erigal Hotel on Saturday, the 1st of October with my brand new stand-up comedy show, Tom Foolery. Tickets are £35 from ticketmaster.ie. Don't you dare miss it.
We'll see you down the road. Good luck.
If you're in business and you need to accept card payments, An Post offer the best value in card payment solutions, saving Irish businesses on average 25% on current costs. It's fast and easy to set up or switch. Your money hits your account the next day. Call An Post on 1-800-300-150 or email cardpayments@anpost.ie and start accepting card payments today.
Paul Claffey Tours are delighted to announce that we're heading back to sunny Spain for a second week in June 2023 and once again staying at the luxury Barossa Hotel Complex Cadiz, Spain from June 15th to 22nd. Joining Paul for this unforgettable week will be some of Ireland's best love entertainers, Michael English and his band, and many friends including Brendan Shine, Dominic Kerwin, John McNichol, Jerry Guthrie, Jim Devine, John Hogan, the Stephen Smith Band, The Conquerors, Sean Wilson, John Malloy and more. The price is only €1,079 half board plus tax and insurance. Call 01685 2244 or see paulclaffeytours.com and don't miss the holiday of a lifetime.
Win €20,000 in the big Finn Harps Stadium draw. Yes, €20,000 in cash is the first prize, with 5 other great prizes also up for grabs. Tickets are only €20 or get 3 for €50 at finnharps.ie or from any club member.
Okay, good morning, Minister Charlie McConalogue. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, Greg.
Good to have you with us. Okay, I want to talk to you about the impact this will have, particularly those affected by your departments. But a quick word from you on this 10% concrete levy, which does also affect the farming community, particularly through the TAM scheme. But we were speaking briefly to a rep from Mag a little earlier on. They feel like it's a slap in the face that this is just going to be, it's going to make fixing defective block-affected homes more expensive, and it's going to lump a charge on first-time buyers and anyone really who's looking to build something, and all for 80-odd million.
Yeah, well, first of all, I suppose just on the general budget, Greg, I think the government obviously brought the budget forward 2 weeks so that we would give certainty to families in advance of the autumn and the winter and going into the spring in terms of the supports that would be in place for them. And I think in terms of the overall package, it's unprecedented in its nature and scale, and that's because of the challenges that's there. And the government has sought to strike a balance between strong supports, both for those that avail of welfare support payments and also those who are working, and also then in relation to educational costs, for example, health costs, childcare costs.
Just in relation to educational costs, many of your constituents will have students studying in Queen's, in Derry. They won't avail of or be able to avail of a reduction in third level fees. Does that seem fair to you as you represent a lot of these people?
Well, there will be supports there, obviously, in relation to student grants, Greg. Obviously, payments doesn't include what happens in Northern Ireland. That's a matter for the Northern Irish government in relation to...
Well, not really. These are people living in Donegal. They're paying their taxes in Dublin. And their students are studying on the same island. Should the government not have considered the impact this would have on the likes of many of your constituents who have students in the north? Why should those families not benefit from this? We can't just pass the buck to the NI authorities.
Yeah, well, the government has done a lot and looked across all of the remits within which we have responsibility for, Greg, to try and relieve the pressure on families now over the course of.
But averting answering that question is not helpful, Minister. With all due respect,
I'm not averting answering the question, Greg. I'm simply pointing out to you that the government have looked at all of the things that are within our control, and that we can actually help to address in relation to supporting families over the next year. One of those things is the student maintenance grant, which is being improved significantly. There'll be a double payment of the student maintenance grant, which students attending Northern Ireland do avail of this autumn. But one of the things we don't control is obviously what the charges are charged by the Northern Irish government, and that's outside of our remit. But across all of the sectors, whether it's education, childcare, cost of living, I think the package that we brought in has been about trying to work to support families through the months and the year ahead. And I think overall it strikes a really good balance in relation to providing unprecedented support given the unprecedented challenges we have, but also managing the overall government budget and the economy as well in its way that's sensible. Because obviously the basis in which we can actually manage to do these measures is the fact that the economy has been well managed and well handled, and that's central, and it's obviously going to be more important as well given the international backdrop over the course of the next year. So I think across the board, Greg, the support package in the budget yesterday was one which was, provides very Strong support, but much needed support to families in terms of what is a challenging time.
And public care, and we're getting quite a few positive texts in relation to that, and some people have differing views on that, and that's yours. Just as it relates to this levy, though, on people, this new levy on people looking to rebuild their mica-affected homes, those looking to build non-mica affected homes, of course, the impact it will have in terms of agriculture on the TAM scheme. Were you in favour of this 10% levy on concrete blocks and poured concrete?
Well, as the government announced whenever we introduced the MICA scheme back a number of months ago, that we announced at that stage that we would be introducing a levy on construction in order to pay for that, because obviously there's a massive commitment and a really important commitment from the government to actually implement the scheme. It's something that we're focused on making sure it happens and unlocking the challenges that are there at the moment in terms of the administration of it. But central to that, Greg, obviously is the fact that it has to be paid for. And this 10% levy, I think, provides the security and the long-term certainty around an income stream to make sure that there's funding available to fund the MICA scheme and the pyrite scheme. So obviously it will, the estimation in relation to house prices is potentially it could add somewhere between half and 1% of the cost of building a house. Obviously it can have challenges in relation to all types of construction buildings or
retaining walls.
Projects
it could be 3 or 4 grand per house. It could be 1.5 grand.
But one of the things, one of the challenges you have when you're in government is you have to make things all come together. You have to make things add up. You have to deal with income as well as expenditure.
What about maybe not going to those who made the blocks and getting them to pay? What about maybe getting the banks to pay? You know, of course, there are other ways that doesn't impact the homeowner that some of this money could be recouped. But the government doesn't seem to want to go after banks, Charlie. I wonder why that is.
Well, the Attorney General is exploring all those options, and obviously some of them are challenging, but they are being explored, and the Minister for Housing has made that clear. But I think from a homeowner's point of view, Greg, and this is something the government is absolutely committed to in relation to actually delivering on the MICA scheme, but it's central to that is actually paying for it. So what this does is actually it ensures that there is going to be a clear income stream which supports the payment and the fixing of people's homes.
Do you think there could have been an argument for making those who are... Do you think this could be a strong argument to be made for those who... And we'll move on after this. Those who are repairing or rebuilding defective block homes. Do you think it could have been a strong argument for they to be exempt from this levy?
Well, I think the reality is that this is going to apply to people right across the country. And the funding is then going to be used to actually fix homes in those counties which are most affected, ours most of all. So while it is going to be a challenge for everyone doing purchasing concrete for any project they're doing, it's a necessary step by the government to ensure that the funding is in place to drive through and deliver on the MICA scheme. And there isn't, it's not that we can. You can't, for all of the steps we take in terms of the management of the economy, we have to deal with the income side as well as the expenditure side. And there'll always be plenty of views in relation, or you'll always have plenty of suggestions in relation to how you should spend the money, but very, very few suggestions in relation to how you actually would deliver the income. But of course, the government has to manage the national purse in that regard. And one of the key things we have to do, and we're determined to do, and that I've been driving all the time at a government level on behalf of homeowners, is actually delivering on the MICA scheme. And this was the way that was agreed when the scheme was published, that it would be paid, and I think it's welcome that we're now actually seeing it brought into legislation so that certainty around the income stream for fixing homes and for homeowners will be there.
Right, in terms of agriculture, what do you think the big headlines are from your perspective? Farmers being able to apply for the Business Energy Support Scheme, I presume that's going to be welcomed, and also the extension of the agricultural tax reliefs, 5 in number, I believe. They were due to expire this year. They've been extended, and some financial support for modernising storage facilities. Are those the headlines for you? What impact might they have? What else were you able to secure for farmers?
Yeah, no, I think those are all important measures, and I think particularly the inclusion of farm families in relation to the energy support scheme is going to be important, and that confirmation that all farms will be eligible for that. We've fought hard to secure that over the last couple of weeks, and that is now there. But also then, there's been real costs in the farming sector as a result of the illegal invasion of Ukraine, particularly coming in relation to the feed side and also the fertilizer side and also the energy side. So the energy support will help deal with the energy side. Then in relation to feed and fertilizer, I've had some schemes introduced during the course of this year, which I've secured funding for now to continue. So, for example, the fodder support scheme, which is delivering up to €1,000 per family farm to support the costs, particularly around fertiliser, and also contractor costs in relation to making hay and silage this year. That was in place. I've now got secured that again for next year, and also we'll be making a forward payment on that at the end of this year to farmers for next year to help them prepare for the year ahead. Likewise, the tillage scheme will also continue. But then, in relation to many of the new cap programs and cap schemes which are starting the first year of 5 now in January, those schemes are all been significantly improved from the outgoing cap. So, and I secured funding in the budget for that. So, for example, the beef scheme, which will be particularly important for farmers across Donegal, that will be paying €150 in the first 10 cows now compared to 90 on the outgoing scheme, and that will be starting in January. And then also secured the continuation of the BPS scheme, which again is important for farmers in Donegal, which is where beef and sucklers are particularly important. And then likewise in relation to the new sheep welfare scheme, that will be in place for the year ahead as well. But I think importantly, particularly given the additional challenges that are there from a cost point of view, the fodder scheme and the tillage scheme will be important for next year too.
Minister Charlie McConalogue, thanks for your time this morning. He is Minister for Agriculture, Food and the Marine, and we appreciate him, as we do all our guests, taking time out to join us on this show.
Text or WhatsApp your view to Greg on 086 60 25,000.
Would you like to win a Hyundai Kona car? Well, that's the first prize in the St. Eunan's GA Club Development Draw, who are sponsors of this week's 9 till noon show. There's 9 other great prizes, and tickets are now available online at stunansgadraw.com or any club member. Have you a job vacancy that needs urgently filled? Have you tried various ways to find new staff but didn't succeed? Let Highland Radio help you source and fill your current vacancies in the most cost-effective way. Sign up for a job spot and we will tell our 70,000 daily listeners about your vacancies every Monday, Wednesday and Friday during our primetime shows. We will broadcast the latest job opportunities across the Northwest and into counties Derry and Tyrone. All jobs will be listed on highlandradio.com under our job spot section. For more information, contact the advertising team on 07491 5322 or email advertising@highlandradio.com. Highland Radio, delivering your message across the Northwest.
SafeTech are running a number of accredited programs this autumn, including basic scaffolding, electro and butt fusion welding, roadworks, plant and machinery, confined spaces, water hygiene for utilities, UK construction cards and more. Funding available on all these programs. T's and C's apply. For all your safety and training needs, visit safetech.ie.
Let Joe McGee Butchers feed your family with their 5 for €20 deal. Choose from our fantastic deli range. Lasagnas, cottage pie, chicken curry and soups. Just a sample of our fine products, all made in store only at Joe McGee Butchers, Letterkenny and Glencar shopping centres. Find us on Facebook and Instagram.
The Donegal Pedigree Chevy at Ram and Yo sale takes place on Wednesday the 28th of September in Stranorlar Mart. Show at 5 and sale at 7. This ad is sponsored by BizPrint Letterkenny, making printing easy and affordable.
At Ulster Bank we are closing, and from the 8th of October, all customers whose accounts have passed the 6-month closure notice period will no longer be able to use their accounts. For our customers receiving social welfare payments, like pensions, child benefit, carers or disability allowances, make sure your payments remain uninterrupted by switching your account now. Switch online in any branch or call our customer service team on 0818 210 260. Call costs may vary and calls from mobiles may not be free. Ulster Bank Ireland DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Teagasc will hold a tillage meeting on Thursday the 29th of September at 8 p.m. in Angrinnan Hotel Burt. Topics include crop research, planning for 2023 and acres. Teagasc speakers include Ewan Mullins, Head of Teagasc Crop Research, and Shay Phelan, Teagasc Crop Specialist. And all are welcome.
At Ulster Bank, we are closing. And from the 8th of October, all customers whose accounts have passed the 6-month closure notice period will no longer be able to use their accounts. For our customers making nursing home payments, for themselves or on behalf of a loved one, make sure your payments remain uninterrupted by switching your account now. For more vulnerable customers who need extra assistance, please call our vulnerable customer line on 1800 656 001. Call costs may vary and calls from mobiles may not be free. Ulster Bank Ireland DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Tourism businesses have a brand new mark of employer excellence, driven by the employee's voice. The Employer Excellence Programme recognises employers who consistently create better workplaces for their employees. Attract and retain top talent. Shine the spotlight on your business. The Employer Excellence Programme. Learn more at falterireland.ie.
Enjoy a great value breakfast any day until 2 at Kelly's Diner, Letterkenny. Every Saturday at Kelly's, it's Steak Madness with a succulent 8-ounce steak and all the trimmings for just €12. On Fridays, from 3, all deluxe burgers with chips and a soft drink are only $15.95. For endless choice and value, pull into Kelly's Diner at Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
SafeTech are running a number of accredited programs this autumn, including basic scaffolding, electro and butt fusion welding, roadworks, plant and machinery, confined spaces, water hygiene for utilities, UK construction cards and more. Funding available on all these programs. T's and C's apply. For all your safety and training needs, visit safetech.ie.
Dogs, cats, rabbits, birds and fish. Some of the popular home pets that need care and attention every day. At Gary's Pet World, our fully trained staff are here to help you and your pets. We offer great advice and value on all foods, accessories, grooming and care products, with incredible offers on all leading brands. Shop in store at Gary's Pet World, Letterkenny Retail Park, open 7 days per week, or browse and buy 24/7 at petworld.ie. Thinking of changing your car for a new car? Get ahead of the queue. It's time to order your new 2023 Kia today. With an award-winning range of vehicles, your next car will be a Kia, we are sure of it. Visit Letterkenny or Malin or imotors.ie.
The Queen of Country and Irish, Margot, comes home to Donegal for one night only. Join Margot live in concert in the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny, on Thursday the 6th of October. Joining her on the night are special guests David James and Shuni Cramsey. Tickets now on sale from Hotel Reception. Don't miss Margot live in the Mount Errigal Hotel, Thursday the 6th of October.
Okay, you're welcome back, and it's time for Wellness Wednesday now, and this Saturday is International Day of the Older People, and to coincide with it, we're launching, or are we launching it now? It's been launched, VOOP, which is Voice of the Older Persons. User launching it in the Resource Centre in Letterkenny on Saturday from 2 p.m. until 4 p.m. Joined by two guests in studio now. Firstly, Marie Slevin, Centre Coordinator in the Congress Resource Centre in Letterkenny. Good morning to you. It's great to have you with us. Thanks. And we also can welcome into Katie Byrne, a volunteer with VOOP. Good morning, Katie. How are you?
Good morning, Greg.
It's good to have both of you with us. Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Let's start with you, Marie. Talk to us then about the what's planned for International Day of the Older People. And I suppose really talk to us about VOOP.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Greg, I must just correct you there. The launch will be in the Public Service Building in Letterkenny from 2 to 4 p.m. this Saturday, the 1st of October.
Thanks for that. Sorry about that, Marie.
No, that's okay.
We'll clarify that a number of times before.
Yeah, the Public Service Building. Well, first of all, to talk about the VOOP project, well, I'm coming near retirement age myself. I suppose I'm 64 past, and I've worked in the Resource Centre for 24 years. And a lot of our people that worked with us over the years are now retired, you know, and they still keep in touch with the centre, Kate included, and Michael Breslin, who would have given a lot of information over the years on pensions and that. And I suppose because of the COVID and that, we've just found that, you know, a lot of older people are feeling a bit isolated, you know, and have been out of touch, you know, and sometimes don't know where to go to.
Links have been broken, I think, is what happened a lot of the time, hasn't it?
Yes.
Links between people and organisations, or links between people. And everyone's come out of this slightly different. There's still some people incredibly cautious that are holding back themselves, aren't they? Yeah. So it's about rebuilding that.
Yes, and to let people know that we're there, like they can ring us at any time if they need any help or any information. They don't necessarily have to come into the centre. You know, we have trained information providers there. And what we're also finding, a lot of people have great difficulty trying to get through to service providers. You know, they're ringing and ringing, their credit's used up, and they can't get the answers that they need.
Yeah.
So the other thing that we like to do is link up with the existing services that is there, like the active retirement groups all around the county, and
You don't want to be double jobbing. You want to make sure you complement each other rather than sort of compete.
Yeah, exactly. The more people helping, the better. And I suppose we're lucky we have the premises there, and we would like to call on the groups to avail of the premises and the facilities we have.
Katie, do you want to talk a little bit about sort of COVID, post-COVID, and its impact on older people?
Yeah, I think for me, my background's healthcare. So I went into the centre basically a few months ago to get a bit of support, have a chat, sort of age-related and everything else. And I came away and I thought, we had a conversation over a cup of tea, and I had done a recent master's, and I'd looked at human rights and older people as my dissertation, as my piece for that. And we got talking, and we got talking about what's happening generally and the lessons we needed to learn as a organisation, as society. And one of the things that has come out now is the fact that for the first time in global history, there are less children being born and there are more older people. And that's going to change demographics. And it's new, it's just beginning to happen. And I think what we want to do is to start a conversation about getting older and ageing.
Yeah, the thing is though, right. It seems more challenging now, and correct me wherever I'm wrong. But like, say, for instance, in terms of moving towards a cashless society, I think that's going to impact older people. Not all older people, by the way. My dad was mad at tapping, particularly in the pub. But you know what I mean? But it can disproportionately affect older people. The closing of post offices, Garda stations. It seems acceptable that older people may have to wait 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 hours to be seen at an accident emergency department. Also, to a lot of the questions I find being asked in the media are pitching younger people against older people, as if to say older people are a burden on these people. So you add in the narrative, and then you add in the realities, and you add in the gaps in services, and I've only touched on some. It seems our respect an appreciation of older people, we are going backwards. And I think there's a lot of older people out there today, and I do everything I can on this program to try and reverse that, would very easy start feeling, well, am I a burden now? Am I superfluous to society? Am I like a problem? There's too many people getting old, and we're living longer, and we're slightly healthier. And, I mean, is that a reality, do you think? At least a perception.
That's really what we need to combat. And what you're saying is what some of the key organisations around the world are beginning to say. So World Health Organisation and the United Nations, they've got a real a thing going now to combat ageism. And you're right, we need to start looking at how we perceive and think about getting older and our older populations, and how we stereotype them, and then from that what we feel about it. And you're right, do they feel burdensome? Do we feel they're a burden? And then, the acts that come about, the discrimination. And if we don't challenge it, if we don't challenge ageism, then we won't get the things right. Like, you're right, a health service that fits everybody in society. We don't give the credit to many older people that provide childcare services, so that many women now have to work. There's not a choice. And a lot of that is met by older people. The fact that many young people are supported to buy their first home.
And I think too also as well, some gaps like in childcare, for instance. I think a lot of grandparents are presumed to be the de facto child carers. That's what you do when you get to a certain age. You're not working anymore. That's what grandparents do. Now it's different. It goes generationally back. It's not like that. But do you square off to your daughter or your son and go, well, actually, I had other plans. I love my grandchildren, but I love to hand them back. And I think that all just feeds into maybe a perception, Marie. Do you know?
Well, I don't have that problem myself. I don't have any grandchildren, but my sister does.
Which actually makes me posing the question a little bit more comfortable, because if you were nodding, going, that's what they do.
I can see it would be a problem for some parents, but this is a time of life where you, probably for the first time ever, have some time to yourself and want to make the most of your retirement and the and of course you don't want to let your children down, so you can understand how people are torn, you know.
There is the balance to be struck. It's just the
There's-
presumption of
it's
something.
getting the balance
We
right.
like doing
Yeah.
things, but we don't want to be presumed that we would. Now, just wonder, is even some of those closest to us, can they lose a bit of respect for us? You know what I mean? And I think we need to change that. I think it's all part of what we've been talking about so far today.
Yeah, I think respect, for older people is sort of
It is, and
it's been declining over the years. You know, and what we're trying to do is to help people to prepare for the retirement.
Yeah,
you know,
that's it, isn't it?
To be smart for themselves. You know,
We don't want a cliff edge.
No, we don't want a cliff edge, is right. And I mean, I suppose myself and Kate now in recent years have had experience, like my mum has dementia, and Kate's mum is, she's in good health, but she's in her early 90s, but we don't know what we're going to be ourselves, So
It's terrible too. We all age, but
yeah,
you kind of age. Say the neck is the line.
Yeah.
You either age from the neck up, don't you, or you age from the neck down. It's funny how it goes, isn't it?
Yeah, and it is a bit scary, but the thing is to sort of get as much information as you can while you can, so that you can prepare for the future as best you can, and looking at what care is possible that you might need in the future, and looking at the legal aspects of it, like power of attorney and ward of court,
and getting ahead of it too, because we
Yeah.
can. I think we can get, and regardless of what age you are, the anticipation of something is often worse than itself, and people think, well. I mean, there's people still reluctant to write a will because they believe
it's one of the things we definitely
they believe it's in some way some sort of acceptance of their own mortality or whatever their motivation might be. But we avoid it because we don't like talking about death. Really.
Yeah, and then you can see sometimes the complications that arise in families because people didn't prepare.
I'm meandering all over the place.
Yeah, no,
what did you come here to sit and talk about?
Well, I suppose what we want to say is that we want to create something around the voice of older people, and we want to do it so that one, it informs everybody in society, or the people, but also that informs policy and the people that are in a position to influence and implement.
Does our
change.
National Development Plan account for older people in terms of rural transport, in terms of rural living? And all older
That's
people don't
right.
live in rural areas, don't get me wrong. But when you look at the National Development Plan, does it factor those things in? And I wonder, does it?
Does it enough? Has it taken enough account of it?
Yeah.
And things like, health and social care, what are we looking at, and what sort of society do we want? If we look at other countries, we can learn from them. And we like it or not, our population is going to change, and our population is aging. So I think the fact is we want to start a conversation about age and aging and what sort of society
a lot of that's going to be done
do we
through
want.
talk shops. That's what this is sometimes, a talking shop. Workshops, talking about some of the things you've talked about, really important things, power of attorney, ward of court, living wills, I mentioned that as well. Your health, aging planning, stuff in a good environment with useful, so you come out of it with something rather than you've left something behind you. Is that what you're hoping to achieve, Marie?
Yeah, we're hoping to bring people together and get them talking, really, that's what we want. And as Kit says, we'd like professionals, retired professionals, to join us, because
there's a wealth of knowledge.
And and such experience that people, just because they're retired, it doesn't mean they can't contribute to society in a very positive way. And that's what we want to bring older people together and show the skills that they've built over the years, to share those skills with each other. But I'm going a bit blank now.
No. I think, we do want to have the launch.
When you go blank, this is a tip, Marie. When you go blank, don't say it. This is a tip now for the next time. You just look at Katie, and then it's over to you, Katie.
Yeah.
Never admit, Marie, never admit going blank.
Next time
I tend to do it sometimes.
No, I think apart from the launch, and we have got a little bit of media coverage, and it's fantastic that you've invited us on.
Yeah,
and some of the
you.
papers hopefully are going to pick up on it. And that will impress and influence hopefully the funders, and people begin to listen to this. But the other thing we want to do is to run a sort of series of, bringing people together, and Marie's right about this, whether we call them information sessions or whatever, but things like, healthy ageing. I mean, if we could get a couple of GPs that would come along with us, that would be fantastic. Come in and talk about, prevention. We've talked about it with children.
We did a piece last week about heart valve failure in older people, you know, and it was literally all the advice was actually was when you go to the GP, get them to stick the stethoscope on you and listen out. And it's so treatable. So many people suffer from it, and then they might suffer a stroke or a heart attack, and if they hopefully survive, it's going to have an impact on their life going forward. But if the GP picks this up with a stethoscope, there's quite a simple process that you go through whereby your energy's returned to you, your breath is returned to you, and similarly, last week as well, we talked about COPD.
Yes.
It's about getting that information out there and getting us in control of our health to ensure if we're blessed with long life that we're able to enjoy it as healthy as possible.
That's right. And you know, one of the things we have to do is start this conversation. And Marie's right. The thing about getting older, and as you said, the head up, but things like power of attorney, wardships, which are going to be sort of historical fairly soon. Having said that, the Capacity Act's been there since 2015 and it's only just been enacted now, but we need to know about it. And things like pensions and benefits, you know.
What are you entitled to?
Exactly. You know, and
it's
what's
a
the budget
minefield
saying? And do we need to lobby?
Like someone asked a question here, and I try and get as... Greg, do you know if there's any updates on the Fair Deal scheme for elderly care at home? Like, we're going to try and get an answer and deliver that to that listener, but that's a complex question.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And where do you go to find that out? You
Yes.
know, so... Right. So the day, the International Day of the Older People... Crazy that we actually have to have a specific date, but we are where we at. And then the launch of VOOP. What's this VOOP news here? This that I'm holding up to the camera for those watching.
This is a little newsletter that we put together in the centre.
Loads of info in the back.
Yeah, we'd like to thank Michael Breslin, who worked in the centre, from the centre open. Michael provided a good article there on pensions and British pensions and that people would be interested maybe in reading. And also Mary Higgins, that works in the Regional Employment Service within the centre. Mary gives some information on the employment service that they provide and job seeking, because sometimes people may still want to work part-time when they're receiving their pension.
It has to be choice though, not to be coerced into work.
Exactly, Greg.
Which, you know, I have my concerns about this new staggered system that 70 now becomes really the default, and if you want to go earlier, you're going to have to take a financial hit. But anyway, that's another convo, isn't it?
Yeah, just let people know how they'll fare out if they do want to work a day or two a week. Yeah. And also there's a bit there about self-employment, you know, maybe it's an opportunity.
Imagine how exciting that might be. You've always dreamed of doing something.
If we can get people together.
Or if you've wanted to pursue photography, personal development. Imagine if you wanted to get into yoga or meditation.
Exactly. Just sharing the information and what's available, really. That's what the wee newsletter is
and getting us
about.
back connected again as much as people are comfortable with. We need to be starting from at least where we were pre-COVID, don't we? We don't want to be starting further back from that. Okay, so when is the launch taking place and where?
Well, it's this Saturday, the 1st of October, in the Public Service Building in Letterkenny.
From 2 to 4.
From 2 to 4 p.m.
It's a nice sound. It's going to be a nice, positive.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have a wee bit of crack. We'll have a cup of tea and tray bakes and that when we come in. And Kate has a great quiz that'll get a bit of people laughing. And we have Pat McGarrett, who is very supportive. And Pat worked for the...
Very entertaining as well.
Oh, very entertaining. Pat's going to be our MC. And we'll have a few speakers there. And we'll have a bit of crack. And just to let people know, too, if they can't make it on the day, if they have any concerns about their pension or they want a bit of information, to ring the centre. Ring the centre.
We, as much as we could try and get the message across, it's not ideal for anyone. But if anyone out there is of an older age, maybe they've lost their partner, maybe their kids are busy, and they come in frequently, but they live and die for that visit and stuff. It's not going to be able to appeal to catch everyone, but people shouldn't necessarily. They don't have to feel like that, because there's people like you, great people like you, that are there. If you can get in, see what's happening in your area, maybe even you might network
other people
and know something in your own area. You know, there's no. I don't think anyone should feel, or we should try and avoid anyone feeling like they're sitting at home waiting for that next visit, or even excited that the postman might call today. Do you know what I mean? We shouldn't have that, should we?
No. And there is active retirement groups all around the county, but it's just
connecting people to them.
That's what we want to do. Just let people know what's available.
Okay, and if people want to call the centre, how do they do so?
Well, it's 07491288010.
Okay,
we'll be happy to take the
the
calls if we can't.
And listen, stay engaged with us as well too. If it helps in reaching people, because as I say, I want people to look forward with hope and excitement, not feel like they're running down the clock. I don't mean that insensitively.
Yeah.
But there are some out there. No one in this room.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. Yeah. Just to make sure people don't feel like that. Because none of us would be here without those that went before us.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
You know. Okay. Vooping it up. Voop. I'm not sure that's going to catch on, is it?
I'm hoping so.
They've already got merch, folks. They've already got merch. You can get your Voop t-shirts.
Yeah, we made them some. We made them some on Saturday available.
All right, okay. Well, if you give me one, I'll wear it.
There you go.
Good. That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
On air, in front of the camera.
Brilliant.
You promise.
We'll hold you to that.
We'll definitely get it.
100%.
Good.
I'll do anything to help and support that I can.
Great, Greg.
Get along to the launch between 2 and 4 p.m. You can see by the likes of Mary and Katie the type of people that are involved in this. It's about positivity, moving forward, maybe facing some stuff we don't want to face, having conversations that are a little bit difficult, but you know what? You feel better after, I think.
And having a wee bit of crack. You know, having a wee bit of crack.
Yeah. All right. Marie Slevin, Centre Coordinator in the...
Congress Resource Centre, Pierce Road, Letterkenny.
Okay, right. And also Katie Byrne-Fall. And you did a master's recently, Katie?
I did.
In what was your area of speciality?
It was an access to justice. It was a master's in law.
Brilliant.
And that's because my background was healthcare, and because of my looking after my mother and everything else, my dissertation ended up being on human rights of older people.
To do as
Absolutely.
Well, you weren't busy enough.
And you know what? You're never too old to go back to third level education. That's something else. Lifelong learning. We should be. There's a lot to offer. Yeah.
All right, listen. It's been lovely having the two of you in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much indeed. All right, let's take a break. Kieran's going to be joining us with Business Matters in a couple of minutes. We'll be right back.
The 9 till noon show with St Eunan's GA Club Development Draw. €40,000 in prizes. First prize, a Hyundai Kona car, plus 9 other great prizes. Tickets now available online at steunансgadraw.com or any club member.
Want unbeatable value from Sky? Here's the deal. Get Sky Broadband for just €29 a month, plus Sky Q for only €10 a month. Super fast, super reliable broadband. And Sky Q with your apps and recordings. That's Sky Broadband for €29 a month, plus Sky Q for €10 a month for 12 months. Now that is unbeatable value. Go to sky.ie. Availability subject to location. Offer does not include Sky TV subscription. New Sky customers only. Setup fees, minimum term and further terms apply. For more info, see sky.ie/speeds.
Book a private VIP screening at Century Cinemas. Perfect for celebrating birthdays and special occasions. Featuring a private VIP screening with luxury reclining seating, delicious popcorn and a brilliant choice of movies. For further information on our VIP packages, call Century Complex Letterkenny on 07491 21976 or visit centurycinemas.ie.
Farmers, you're built different. One step after the other, you don't see the rewards for months or years. That's life on the farm. Or you could say, that's life in rehab. When you're learning to walk after a machinery injury, one step after the other, you don't see the rewards for months or years. Just because you've the strength to see you through rehab, it doesn't mean you should have to. Farmers, always take care around machinery. From the Health and Safety Authority, visit hsa.ie/farm safety.
I can't stop thinking about them. I keep rereading their old texts.
Brian, this has gotta stop. It's been months, and they send those alerts to everyone. You know that, right? Look, your bank is leaving, but you gotta get back out there. Listen to me. Any bank would be lucky to have you, especially Bank of Ireland.
Really?
Yeah, they've even put together a simple step-by-step guide to moving banks and have a dedicated team on hand to help. Even an ending can be a new beginning. To start finding your new banking partner, download our step-by-step guide to moving banks. Search Bank of Ireland Big Move. Begin.
Bank of Ireland is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Join the Highland Roadshow from 11:30 until 2 this Thursday, September 29th, as we team up with Bus Éireann to celebrate their customer day at the Letterkenny bus station. We have a cracking music mix and some great merchandise to give away on the day. That's the Highland Roadshow this Thursday morning from 11:30 at the Letterkenny bus station.
Sabrina Robb here from Donegal Hearing Clinic. If you're struggling to hear everyday conversations or find it difficult to understand people in a crowded room, you may have hearing loss. Problems like these are common, and we're used to helping people resolve them. We offer hearing assessments and will discuss your options. You can call us on 074 91 88 470 or visit donegalhearingclinic.ie. Life sounds brilliant with Donegal Hearing Clinic, Letterkenny and Bunkrano.
Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors, serving Letterkenny and the surrounding areas for over 100 years. Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors. Let our family take care of your family and guide you through a difficult time.
A public service message from Donegal County Council. Householders and building owners in areas susceptible to wildfires are advised to cut back or remove any vegetation or other combustible material in the vicinity of their house, building or oil tank to prevent wildfires damaging or destroying their property. Cleared areas should be maintained free of vegetation and combustible material. Donegal County Council. Protecting your environment.
You know what I love about Letterkenny Shopping Centre?
Let me guess. Great women's wear, fashion shopping?
Close.
Well then, Tesco's offers or McGettigan's coffee and pastries, the latest magazines, cosmetics or health foods?
Closer.
Okay, free parking, late night shopping Thursday and Friday, gifts, homewares, phones, shoes, kitchen gadgets, jewellery.
Okay, closer still.
Okay. What do you love about Letterkenny Shopping Centre?
It's all under one roof and right on my doorstep.
Letterkenny Shopping Centre, so much choice. Open 7 days. Find us on Facebook or visit letterkennysc.com.
At Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles, the wait is over. Production is back. Now your plans can really begin. Whether that's scaling your business or smartening your service offering, with HP Finance from 3.9%, purchase contributions of up to €3,000 and service plans from €12.99 per month, don't wait. Secure your next Caddy Cargo, Transporter 6.1 or Crafter at your local Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles dealer or visit volkswagenvans.ie. Be ready to really deliver. Offers for business customers only. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland and subject to lending criteria. Terms and conditions apply.
Call into Connolly's Volkswagen Letterkenny today or visit connellys.ie to book a test drive.
Business Matters in association with the Faculty of Business at ATU Donegal. Looking for a career in financial services? Consider the Level 9 MA in Governance and IT in Financial Services. Take the next step in your career and contact the Exec Ed Coordinator on 9186206 or email execed, execed at atu.ie today.
All right, I always seem to jump the gun on that promo, but anyway, good to have. What's that? Sorry?
I'm glad the mic wasn't up when you were singing your content investment version there of a wee song there during the break.
Again? One day at a time.
Yeah.
I might release a single yet. What do you think?
I'll go for it.
Yeah, charity single.
Pick another song.
Oh, right. No, I'm not. All right, come here. Great news for the Redcastle Oceanfront Golf and Spa Hotel.
Yes, it has been awarded the best 4-star hotel and gold resort in Donegal in the 2022 Resort and Retreat Awards by LuxLife. Earlier this year, the Inishowen Hotel refurbished 90 of its rooms, and the wedding and function site, which is the ocean site overlooking Lough Foyle, was also upgraded, and that cost a total of €500,000. So the Redcastle Hotel is part of the Harcourt collection, which also includes Titanic Hotel in Belfast and the Loch S Castle in Donegal Town.
Great recognition, because there's some competition even around our county, isn't there?
And it's great to see it.
Yeah. The Tip O'Neill Awards ceremony took place in the last week.
Yeah, I know the news covered it as well. We mentioned it last week. Greg, some of Donegal and Ireland's finest were recognised for their outstanding contributions to society, culture, healthcare, the arts and business at the Tip O'Neill Awards ceremony held in Bunkrano. Those honoured included Maya Doherty, Dr. Susan Horsky, Kathleen Sheeran and Anne and Mark Bayada. The Tip O'Neill Awards ceremony began in 2012, and that was to mark the centenary of the birth of Thomas P. Tip O'Neill, whose maternal grandparents hailed from Donegal, that's Bunkrano and Clonmany respectively, and was an American politician, statesman who served as a Speaker of the US House of Representatives. So a very well and highly regarded man.
All right, now major e-commerce awards for Evolve.
Yeah, Evolve Clothing, located at the Letterkenny Retail Park, has won the Fashion and Footwear E-commerce Website of the Year award for 2022. Accepting the award at a recent reception at the Mansion House Hotel in Dublin, the McCluskey brothers said it was a testament to their online team and the work they do each day above and beyond. So Evolve launched its new website back in 2018 with the help of ARP Commerce and Built for Growth Digital. And the brothers also said that their help played a big part in securing what is a very prestigious award, Greg.
Yeah,
so well done
it
to
really
them.
is. And they got in it really, in terms of but a focus on an online focus just ahead really of the
Exactly. So
the pandemic.
I'm sure.
when
I'm
there was
sure
a big
if
push, but they were ahead of the curve.
I'm
there
sure
a
if it
little
wasn't in place, maybe it just might have been as good for them.
Yeah, all right. Now, more Donegal success at the Irish Restaurant Awards.
Yeah, there were 3 Donegal winners in the Irish Restaurant Awards for 2022. Kieran Sweeney, who's based at the Old Glen Bar, won the Best Chef in Ulster Award. The Rusty Mackerel Pub in Teelan scooped the Best Gastro Pub in Ulster and Ireland Award, while Shant Pure Indian Restaurant in Donegal Town won the Best World Cuisine in Ulster. So I think it's important, Greg, that we sort of mention those in our wee roundup because...
For sure. And I don't eat out very often. But
Yeah.
I have been in 2 of the 3
Right,
of those. I just
right.
haven't visited the Rusty Mackerel.
There you
But what Kieran's doing at the Old Glen Bar
Yeah.
is something else. It's a
Yeah.
dining experience,
Yeah.
because food is lovely and it's lovely to get out and meet friends, but it's an experience. And they do great things there at the Old Glen Bar, and of course the Chandapur Indian Restaurant in Donegal Town, regular award winner. So they're really consistent in that regard. Right, okay, let's go agricultural.
Yeah, Donegal County Council will host a hemp information evening on Wednesday, October the 12th at the Clanry Hotel in Letterkenny. So this farm diversification event will feature a range of speakers who will demystify some of the perceptions around the crop. There will also be an opportunity to hear about live projects in this developing sector, and those interested can email info@donegal.ie.
Well, there's one very clear misunderstanding of the crop that might need to be demystified, but anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
Good man.
Okay. Right, let's get on to this week's podcast, which went live at 11:30, by the way.
It did. Didn't go
Didn't
live.
last week.
It didn't last week. No, I was out there.
I saw you trying to reboot your laptop.
And the one week I was in time, I had to come on. But on this week's show, Greg, I'll be joined by wellbeing coach and founder of the One Good Hour in Letterkenny, Mary Bradley. Mary has been teaching at Loreto Letterkenny for the last 10 years. She began meditating in her early 20s, and earlier this year she decided to set up her own business, and that was to help people release the stress of everyday life and become a calmer and more content version of themselves. During our conversation, I asked Mary how the first 6 months of being in business had been.
It's a roller coaster, so you have to be so motivated in yourself, and I am very motivated and I am very passionate, but of course you meet so many stumbling blocks along the way, and it's that you have to be able to talk to yourself and talk yourself around of these things. Like I said, you end up telling yourself stories. I'm not good enough, nobody's interested in this, oh sure, I'll just leave it now, nobody's that bothered. And you have to kind of quieten that inner critic and just, there's so many different versions of why something has happened, and often they've nothing to do with you. The other big thing that I think is just remaining aligned with what is important to me, why I'm doing with what I'm doing. And sometimes you can't, I don't know if it's the same for other people, but you can end up trying to force things a little bit, and then I find myself stepping back then. I'm like, well, why do I want that thing to happen so badly? Is that really aligned with what I'm about and what I want to do? Or is it just something I feel like I should be doing, or am I doing these things for the right reasons?
Yeah, was that one of those interviews, Kieran, that you sort of, I know you come away with something from all your interviews because of the type of people that you interview, but you come away thinking, maybe something's been triggered there a little bit.
Yeah, I suppose one of the things that Mary referred to, and she said she's guilty of herself, is actually spending maybe half an hour endlessly scrolling. And I suppose the time that we could maybe use that 30 minutes or an hour every now and again to sort of maybe tune in with ourselves and just maybe try and maybe go a wee bit easier on ourselves.
Yeah, I think sometimes we do need to sit down with ourselves. There's a lot of people, I probably count myself one of them, that sort of operates at a certain level of stress and anxiety. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I were diagnosed, I probably would be diagnosed as both of those things. But you function. Do you know what I mean? And you accept it. And I would say someone like Mary and sort of, looking after your well-being and talking to yourself, and you could probably start seeing the woods for the trees and start realising. I realised it a little some time ago, and it kind of works for me.
I suppose, COVID was probably a major turning point in a lot of people's lives because we were forced to stop. Yeah. And then we were forced to think, and then forced to look around.
A lot of people felt better.
Yeah.
Ironically.
And Mary talked about a lot of things. I suppose the stress on different sectors of society and different age brackets, students, workforces, workplaces. And I suppose what Mary does, I suppose, help people, give them the tools to maybe look after themselves a wee bit better, change their thinking, and maybe just be better to themselves.
But this kind of an approach is mainstream now. It may not have been mainstream in the past, but it's mainstream now. It's not laughed at. I'm not saying it ever was laughed at, but you know what I mean? There's more people go, you know what? Well, you know, maybe that could work for me.
Yeah, well, as part of the curriculum now, and as part of Mary's teaching role as well, she's on leave at the minute. She had her first child, Luke, was born last year. So she's juggling a lot of things, a new mum and a new business. But she has a great passion for her area, Greg, and a very fascinating conversation.
Yeah, okay. Now, that interview in its entirety, you heard a 1 minute, 10-second clip of it there. It's a half-hour odd podcast this week.
Yep.
That interview is available for you to listen to now when you ever want to. It's on the playback section of our website, the listen back section of, what's it? It's not called. It's the on-demand section of our website. You'll see Kieran's face there. Click on it, punch it. The image of it, obviously, nothing in real life because that's violence. Click his face, and you'll be able to listen to Mary whenever you want. It's also available on Spotify and iTunes. And if you want to listen to it on the radio, scheduled broadcast, it could be part of someone's Sunday evening. I'm sure it's part of many people's Sunday evening. Kieran, when's it broadcast?
Yeah, just after the 6 o'clock news, Greg, on Sunday evening.
And if people want to give you feedback or get in contact with you with any questions or suggestions, how do they contact you, Kieran?
Yeah, just drop me an email, please, Greg, businessmatters@tideradio.com.
Okay, so the Business Matters podcast live for you right now on our website. And there's a whole archive of them there as well, by the way, for you to listen back to whenever you want to. There's some really interesting people in there, Kieran. The movers and the shakers, and some really fascinating stories. I think you'd agree anyway, having spoken to them yourself.
Yeah, look, there's always something different, and look, now and again you get a wee bit of feedback, which is good. And
look at him fishing for compliments.
No, look,
now and again.
There's one time, Greg, I met somebody and I said, look, I heard you on with such and such, and I enjoyed it. And I met somebody the next day, and they told me they weren't ideas, but I couldn't listen to it. So the same
Welcome
podcast.
to the 9 till noon show.
The same podcast.
It was the same. Well, do you know what? That's why we have choices and stuff.
Exactly.
Right. Well done, Kieran. I'm sure the vast majority of people thoroughly enjoy them dropping on a Wednesday. Have a great Wednesday. We'll chat to you next week. All
Cheers,
being
Greg.
well. All right,
Good morning.
that's Kieran O'Donnell there, as I say, the presenter of the Business Matters podcast. Okay, as you can imagine, it's been one of those days where we've got so many contacts from your listeners, and we're going to try and get through as many of them as we can tomorrow. Hi, Greg. The road in our area, very, very overgrown with bracken and briars, not safe to walk on roads and also to drive. Who's responsible for cutting the side roads? Also, some road signs are overgrown. Thanks, Greg. Well, I'm not fully sure of the answer to that. I presume a lot of it's down to the council. Disappointing turnout, says a caller at the cost of living protest, with crowd estimated from 3,000 in the newspapers. Well, we know that was nowhere near it. To 20,000 claimed by organisers. I recall 40,000 of us marching against the Iraq war with no personal benefits at stake and no free buses sponsored by politicians or parties. Some of us didn't hang around for the speeches, which quickly descended into a rally for Sinn Féin and people before profit. I said it in the weeks in advances of it in a way that I didn't want to discourage anyone. But when political parties are heavily involved, or independents are heavily involved in what effectively is an anti-government approach, even though, look, it's going to put an awful lot of people off. And I predicted early on that not a lot of people would turn out. A lot did, but not enough that would make a difference, unfortunately. Right. There will be another protest in the not too distant future. It'll happen organically. It'll be organised by the people, and I guarantee you it'll be massive. Have a great Wednesday. We're back with Thursday's 9 till noon show at